Okay, I think yeah, we have the numbers. We will start discussing where I have stopped. I think I was discussing about different type of software, like how we can acquire, right? So there we discussed freeware. Remember that is it's copyrighted, and then closed source as well. Like we say object code only. Like I think now you know that, right? Object code only. So copyrighted, and so then shareware, same thing, but copyrighted object code, and also like for a certain time period, here freeware can be completely free. So then also I said like public domain, that is only uncopyrighted software we have. Copyrighted software, right? And it can be source code or object code both, right? Because source code is available in public domain. And then shareware, freeware, this, and then we talked about like proprietary. That is like any like vendor, Adobe, Microsoft, right? So they are copyrighted. And also object code and for a fee, right? That and then next I said there is free and open source software, right? And so here I would say they are also copyrighted, because this is another mistake a lot of people do. And here we have source code, because this is free and open source software. So today I'm going to discuss with you all the last part of that discussion that we tried to finish last week. And this free and open source software, so there are, so remember, they are copyrighted means there are licenses. Like I will today talked about how copyrights are being entertained, right? So then the license, right, will be there, right? So everything is licensed software except this public domain, right? So that is the only, right? Any other software whose name is like whatever mode, like there are, I said there are some things called donorware, because it's like freeware. You can keep it using, but whenever you are feel free, you can. But there are some freeware also. They in their website, if you go there, you will see that they will say like, okay, if you like, you can donate. That you can do. Free and open source software will look its business models and how we can use for business, right? So this is not again a technical side. We are going to look, because I want you all to think from decision-making process, right? Okay, so that's free and open source software. First of all, this very important understanding you all have to have. This is like called freedom, right? And so this is not, I would say, free beer or free lunch. Right? In Sinhala, I would say this is not nomile, that is wrong. This is called nidahas, right? Sorry about the Tamil speaking people. Like I just like us in Sinhala, we have two correct terms. Like whenever we say this is not nomile, right? Open source software, right? I'm not going to convert each and every term to Sinhala. But this is called nidahas, right? So like this free, so you have to always think that, because a lot of people think this free beer or free lunch, right? And then they start thinking different way, right? It's wrong, because this term free coming from freedom, right? That is this. Okay, we'll look that little bit more detail. So I will talk a small story with that. Then I will tell you like what this has happened. So this is the guy, right, who really started working on this FOSS, like Free Software Foundation, right, or Free Software Movement, right? His name is called Richard M. Stallman. Not bad to remember his name, because he is the father of this particular concept, right? So we'll try to understand that concept as well. It's kind of a philosophy as well, rather than a technical concept. So this is what actually he had. So he was IT administrator or computer administrator in one of the famous universities in US. And then he had, yes, I'll take another screen here. So he had a computer, like these are all in 80s, right? This is like a computer. It's kind of a big computer, like those days we used to call mini frames, right? Not mainframe. And then the operating system at that time, Windows was not really in the right move like now, right? So they were using something called Unix. I think you might have heard about. A lot of people confuse that Unix with Linux as well. I'll come there, right? But so yeah, don't get confused. If you just ask, if you have a question with you, right, just hold it because this is two different things. So again, I can put my notations here now. This is not equals Unix, I would say, right? So this is what another important thing for you all to remember. So this is like old, I would say. This is kind of new, right? So then you might have some idea, right? So that's we are talking about 80s, right? So because of that, this Richard Stallman guy was using one of these computers, Unix machines. It was all right, and they had purchased a new printer, right? And they were trying to connect this. There was an issue. Now I think we discussed last week. So whenever a new device comes after the operating system, because Unix is an operating system, so good thing. Like now we have discussed all these things. So I will put here OS. So that is the operating system of this particular machine, right? I will say, rather say PC, I will say machine now, because this is not really a small PC. So this printer, he couldn't connect. Now straight away, I think you all might say device drivers are not there, right? And that's why like today's operating systems, we can get the device drivers and we can install. But it was not that very nice in the Unix time period. So however, though this printer was there, right? This printer might be some special printer, but however, it was not supported or ported, we call, to Unix operating system. So I'll draw Unix, Richard Stallman like this. So Richard Stallman has requested the Unix guys, right? Not the printer guys, right? So ask them, can you please, so I will just say, these are the Unix originators, right? Authors, right? Owners, right? So then this arrow, right? So he asked from the Unix originators, can you please make sure that your operating system works with this device printer, this particular model, right? So that we want to use that. And they have not attended to his request. So because of that, again, he has written to them, can I have, because these are all at that time, these are commercial. So these are proprietary, I would say. Again, a lot of people confused. This is not proprietary, by the way, right? We'll come to that, right? This way, like confusing things will come. But Unix is actually proprietary. It's like it was under AT&T Labs, right? Of US. So this is a proprietary software, and then this was only object code. Right? So then object code. So Richard Stallman, I will say his name is called, we normally use as his term RMS, Richard M. Stallman, right? That's his name. So RMS couldn't do anything, right? He's a good programmer, by the way, right? So then he requested, this is the first attempt, asked them to do this. The second attempt, he said, okay, can I have the source code, right? So that I will make sure that I will write the program required and then make sure that this printer will be working. So then these people have written to Richard Stallman, say this is a proprietary software. We can't give you the source code, right? So then actually Richard Stallman, with that, he was really upset with the computer software itself, right? So you can see being IT guy, sort of pissed off with the software guys. So this is the software developers, because now what he thought was, okay, like what if in the rest of the world, like this is not this Unix applied, but let's say it's me, right? I have written a nice software, right? And then I will denying you, giving you, right? Because you are a male or you are an Asian, right? or you are an MBA student, right? Because I will say this particular software, let's say it's a word processing software. I can say it is not for MBA students. So if you are doing an MBA, you are not supposed to use that. These are, by the way, these are the license agreement, right? This is like proprietary means. That's what, like with the license conditions. Please remember when you tick this box and say agree, right? So you have agreed all these things, right? So in the license, I can know this particular person can say this. So Richard Stallman say this is very bad, like in the world, the software guys can control, right? So probably he might be thinking of at that time, probably Bill Gates was not that. So like those people, right, can sort of control, because they can give software and they can, with their licenses, they can demand so many things like that. So he was thinking, so this is not the right way, right? Whenever you design a product that is software product, right? Software product, the source code, I put here SC, source code, I don't have a space to write. The source code has to be given. So he just bold, he said, because he was facing this problem. Now, the Unix guys are not giving him the code because of saying proprietary, right? But of course, you can say, I'm not going to sell that and all the other conditions. But if there is a guy who requires that, you should give them. So then, so this is where like all the things, but then Unix guy said, no, we are not going to give. And then, so he couldn't get this hardware working, right? So with that, I think he was prepared to, like, actually he's quit his job, and then he started a movement, right? So this particular movement is what we call free software movement. So which was started by Richard M. Stallman after his unpleasant experience. This is what I was just telling. What is that unpleasant experience with proprietary, right? That is non-free software vendors, I would say, or developers, right? So whoever, right? So under this category, anyone will be like, whatever the things we discussed so far will belongs to even freeware, shareware, whatever, but except that public domain, because public domains always give software source code. Because of that, there's no issue. So only a public domain at this time period. So when he was starting this movement, giving source code, none of the others are giving any source code to anyone. So then he quit his job, and then he started a project called GNU, right? So again, GNU is a very nice, we call recursive acronym. G stand for, again, GNU, right? And N stand for not, and U stand for Unix, because he was pissed off with Unix. So he said GNU is not Unix, right? So then someone has asked, why do you put G here, right? To say GNU. So then he said, like, this is how much I hate Unix, guys, because whenever you try to understand what is Unix, so you always say, you are okay, GNU means, N means not, U means Unix. So GNU again, GNU this, then, because always it comes not Unix, not Unix, not Unix, right? Because you will never be able to find what GE is all about, right? This is what we call a recursive acronym. And you can see, like, with that, you can see the quality of this person as well, how good. So he started this GNU project. So he quit his job and said, okay, this is not the way, right? So his ultimate goal here is, that's what, like, freedom. Okay, I will talk about freedom next slide. Freedom. So he said freedom is there for end user, right? When they use software, right? So we will talk about, there are actually 4 freedoms, right? We will be talking, like he will be talking, right? So that's how, like, this started. So then he started a project. He said, I'll be giving source code, right, of this project, right? So first software to create and released under free, or that's why, like, sometimes people write this FOSS, right? Free open source. Some people write it like this, FLOSS, right? Because L they use for Libre, just to say free slash, it's written like this, free slash Libre open source software. So Libre means, that's what, again, it's nidahas, like it's freedom, right? Not for no money. So by the way, so then if someone thinks, FOSS, that is free software, no? So we don't have to pay anything, right? Or I will say free of charge. It is wrong, right? There's no way it's talking about zero cost, right? So it's software, software can expensive, right? But we are talking about here freedom under FLOSS or FOSS, right? So hereafter, I'll be talking only FOSS, FOSS, right? But if you see any document called FLOSS, right, that is also same. So actually GNU has this kind of, I think, animal in, I think probably Canada, like if you look, there are a lot of GNUs, right? So that's why like this, he used this particular icon to denote his project GNU, but there is no reason, but GNU coming with some other reason, right? Not because of this particular animal, right? So this is how like he started this whole process, right? So this is one guy's thought about software, right? Because software developers probably can control the others, rest of the world with the licensing, because they can put whatever the condition in order to use. So because hardware this doesn't mean, because when you purchase it's with you, and then you don't have that issue like whether it belongs to Dell or HP or IBM, just it's hardware. It's just like buying a car from Toyota, right? Toyota is not going to give us more conditions like this kind of person only can drive this, right? So you have to be this much, right? There are government laws, whatever. But other than that, the manufacturer is not going to impose any conditions. But software is not like that, okay? So let's try to understand the 4 freedoms, what Richard Stallman said. So see whether you all also like, right? The first freedom he said, so this is number 1, to run the program for any purpose, right? Because if you have purchased a software, so this is a software you have purchased, I use the word purchased, right? So it can be you obtain, because when you say obtained, maybe free of charge as well, right? Purchase, you have to pay and get it, whatever the matter, right? That doesn't matter. So you should be able to run that program for any purpose. If Bill Gates later says that, okay, you can use Microsoft Word, but you can't use it for creating documents against the president, or like to criticize the government, right, of the power, right, whoever the government in power, right? You're not supposed to criticize using my software. Let's assume, luckily it's not there, right? So just assume, right? So then you should not be doing that, because Bill Gates can sue you, because if something case happens, because it's not the government, because then Bill Gates license agreement says you are not supposed to do that. That's why like he said, no, you should, like even to create a bomb, like if you can use the MS Word, right? So then can't help. That is all up to the individual who acquired that software. So first freedom, so no one can dictate you how to use that software once you obtain that or once you acquire that. So the second one is the open source is coming, the freedom to study how the program works. And then for that, definitely you have to give source code. I discussed that last week. Object code, just no one can understand. It's just ones and zeros, right? So you can understand. Basically, you have to give the source code. So the second freedom, only like open source is coming actually, right? That from the 4 freedoms he was talking about. So because now even today, if you take, like no one knows how, okay, I will take, so don't take it so serious now, like some of the things, like I'll take it for case studies, like don't make a report on what I said here, but just for you all to think, I'm giving these examples. Now let's assume all of you all are using MS Word, right? MS Office, or let's say MS Word, right? So then now let's say whenever you write like some document, right? Let's say you are always connected to internet. A copy of that goes to Bill Gates, right? A copy goes to Bill Gates, just assume, right? But no one can deny that, no, we are not doing, because you can't show the code to IT guy and say, look at the source code here, we are not doing something like that. But since you got the object code, because that's how the proprietary software you got it, so it can be, right? So let's say now this is, you are the army commander, right? Like Shavendra, right? So then, like you are writing some very confidential letter to the president, right? Regarding the country situation or whatever, right? So then what if like this guy gets a copy of that? because he just uses MS Words to create that letter. Just assume, right? So that, don't go and quote this, right? This is between. But this is the reality, what Richard Stallman was trying to tell, right? Because whenever we get object code, we don't know how it's being used. That's why, like, yes, last week I told you all that because with the object code, especially when you're downloading freeware, be careful because viruses also may come. But if source code is given, then we know there's a virus part is here because your IT guy can go and say, this is not supposed to be there. This is sort of like it was trying to do something here, or it is trying to format your hard disk, right? Or it was trying to send something to another account, right? So all these things can seen by the any good programmer by looking at someone else's code. So that is why. So the second item is very important. Study how the programs work, right? Even today, none of the governments, like I don't know whether the US government as well, like knows how MS Word, right, MS Excel, right, is working, right? Because only Microsoft knows the object, the source code, right? No one knows it. So then just I am making a complaint like this can be true, right? Until someone proves that it is not the case, right? So hopefully I don't think you don't have to sketch so much of that, but there is a situation, it can be like that, right? So that's a story here. With that, I just try to highlight, this is what Richard Stallman said, you have to know how you should be able to study how the program works. Then the third one, I think most of you all might like, right? Sri Lankans might like, the freedom to redistribute the copies to help your neighbors. That means if you have a copy of a software, very nice software, why not to one of your MBA student also, right? Says, okay, I like that. Okay, can I have that? So you can give, because today Microsoft don't try to give those things, like then you are violating copyright laws because you are violating that. You are not supposed to give that particular even object code to someone else because that is be given to you, right? So redistribution, right? But he said no. That's what I said. This is not like a technical thing. This is kind of a philosophical idea, right? Because to help your neighbors, right? So more like a religion now, right? Rather than IT guys talks about 4 freedoms. So this is what he said. So if any software later on, right, call under FOSS, right? So we'll see like FOSS is a terminology only. So then this software always is copyrighted. So we have to see the license, right? So with the license only you can see whether it's Richard Stallman's or something else, right? So the 4 freedom, the FOSS terminology is a common thing, right? But then whatever the license tells what you can do and what you can't do, right? But Richard Stallman said you have to give the redistribution sort of freedom to the end user. So that means you can give to some of your friend. Let's say like you have 3 friends, and then 2 of the friends said, okay, can I have that? And the other friend said, I can give you, but he said, no, I have money, I can buy it. So this is what the culture should be, right? Not in the Sri Lankan context, right? What now we are giving injections, and how to get that is also a huge problem because of people are so greedy, and there's no laws like we can even implement. So that's like human behavior, right? But if you write people so that you should say, okay, I have money, I can buy it. Because always remember, the developer, the software developer has to put some effort, right? So there's labor, and then so there's a cost involved. Don't think that software is just free, right? So there has to be employed so many people to work. We have to give salaries, right? Of course, there has to be some money, right? So then don't always expect that everything has to be free of charge. And even these 4 freedoms, it doesn't say anywhere free of charge, right? Because then there's like things will not happen because everything has to be given free of charge. Then like how can you start developing? Like who is going to do this, right? So who funds? And that's it. You need money, right? That's where like even whenever you are using a good software, you are making money from that software, but you're not paying anyone to anything, but maybe donate something. That will be good because for their future development, at least that will be a good thing. So that's like people do that in other countries, right? But always don't look at it as a bad side, right? To grab everything. So however, yeah, so this is just not to ruin the the software developer or kill the software developer, right? Just only one copy you can sell in Sri Lankan context, right? So I have developed a nice core banking software, right? Let's say all of you all are bankers in the Sri Lanka now. I'm doing a demonstration about my software, and then one guy here, let's say I take Bank of Ceylon. Bank of Ceylon guy just said, okay, 1 million I will purchase. This is my price, right? So Bank of Ceylon purchase, and I said that is FOSS whatever license, right? And then FOSS is not a license. I will tell what the license are later. Just for the time being, just think it's a FOSS license. So then all the other guys who are in the, let's say about 50 plus people here now, all are bankers except Bank of Ceylon. All the others can we are now your neighbors, right? We are your good friends. So can we have, and then of course I can make only one sale, right? Only to Bank of Ceylon. So that's not the B, right? So maybe few people will be getting from BOC, right? But others will be coming to me and buying. So then of course I will make some money. So then probably I'll be happy as well as, and rest of the world is happy because everyone has access to that my software. And I'm also happy because I don't want to get money to buy this whole world, right? I need some money. So that is what, so his idea, right? It's not to just, because software, again, another good thing, because sorry. Because software, the main issue here is now, let's assume Toyota, right? So they make a new car, right? And then maybe they'll just draw the car like this. This is a car, this is a new, brand new, right? Car. So one of y'all will purchase that. It's been given, right? So then there's another set of guys who is in the queue want to buy it, right? So then the Toyota said, oh, wait, this is the first car that we did it, right? So give us 3 months, we will do some more cars, right? And then we can give to you all, right? So you can see that, like, now think this is Bill Gates, right? So he developed nice software and sold to you. Then these other guys are asking. So basically you are giving copies of them. So you don't need to build again, right? So it's like, don't look software as a separate commodity, because then that is not applicable straight away, because it's just a copy, right? So copy is good as an original, right? So then you can make money. That's where like these concepts as well, because if you are looking at it from the business point of view, someone can start arguing. So that's, I am quite happy to discuss with you all after just explaining this, because that's where like you all should try to understand this as well, because you might be looking at from business angle as well, right? So I'm me more technical side, but yeah, you should not look this in that business oriented way as well, because there is a business here, right? It's just not everything. And also like why we are saying that you can share with, because you don't have to spend money to create this, right? Other copies of that, right? Because this is now, once you put that effort, right? So that's basically you are making money. It's where like Bill Gates is able to be the richest person on earth, because like because of the software product, right? That's a commodity. It's quite different. Okay. That's what the main three, and a lot of people agreed with, right? These three, right? And that's why, like, so now Richard Stallman is the first one, so we call father of free and open source, right? But then there are other people who came, and some people said only these three we will be would like to entertain, not the fourth one, right? So I will talk about the fourth one as well. But because of that, there are different versions of free and open source that we are going to discuss that as well. So that so there are, just don't think that only one version of free and open source we have. So first one, I will just to summarize, you can use it for any purpose. Second one is you should know how to study how the program works, and source code is a must. And then third one is you can distribute to your neighbors without any restriction, because you should not control by the software developer of the redistribution. But however, you should not that's like, again, like fair use policy, right? So that that day also we discussed, like with your group or the other group, like free bandwidth, right? Or like unlimited bandwidth. But then when a vendor says unlimited, it's just not whatever you want, and like within a 1 month you can almost kill the whole network, right? That we have a fair use policy. So similarly here, distribution is get one copy for Sri Lanka, and you can be the donor for Sri Lanka and say, 20 million people come up behind me, so I will give you one copy of this particular software. So that's not the way, like he has said. That's what, like he said, neighbors. Like, so when you say neighbors, it has to be well defined, sort of like in a close proximity, right? Because if you do that, someone can argue. So then there is no business here. So it's like your business properties will fail with this third freedom, right? But however, it's not the case, right? Final one, the fourth one, it was like a bit the strict one. I will show you like later on why I call strict as well. Straight away, you can't see it here, any restriction, why strict here. The freedom to improve a program and release your improvements to the public so that the whole community benefits. Very nice, interesting sentence here, right? The freedom to improve. So since you have the source code, you can improve, right? So he said, anyone who gets a copy can improve, right? And then you have to do certain things. Again, we'll discuss. So with that, I can open the floor for discussion as well. I will assume you all are bankers. So then I'll take a small example so that so you all are bankers. By the way, I am here, Ajanta. I'm a software developer. Just think, right? I have built a nice software, a core banking software, right? This is a core banking software, right? And so this software is available. Again, I put a price tag of 1 million, right? So this is 1 million rupee core banking software. Anyone can buy, right? So again, this bank purchases it from me, right? And then another bank purchases, another bank purchases from me, right? And then I will say this bank had 2 friends. Yes. So this is, now I had to put my tag here as FOSS, right? So that's 2 people. So actually 5 people are using, right? I have made about 3 million rupees because I sold 3 copies, right? Let's say this guy is also has given to another set of people, right? That is all right, right? So that can be the scenario. So now here, one of the banking, like one person who purchased this, right? I will take again, since without loss of generality, right? I will take Bank of Ceylon, right? Bank of Ceylon IT department, right? So that they have, because they got the source code as well, right? So here you all can say like we are using only the object code because we are happy with the core banking. That's no problem, because whenever someone is giving source code, you can get the object code. Either you can ask from the developer to give us the object code. Only thing is you are getting ones and zeros. You believe that. If not, you can ask UIT department that I told you, like with the compiler, you can convert that to an object code, right? So that's either you can get the object code from here, or your IT department can create it and install it, whatever, it doesn't matter. Now, Bank of Ceylon took the source code and they developed further, right? So they developed further. And now they are also selling this one, right? So I would say, because, okay, now my core banking software is okay, but only thing is it does not support ATM function. I don't know whether core banking should support this or not. Like, don't come and argue with me. I'm not a banker. I just assume ATM functionality is not there, right? What the Bank of Ceylon IT department did was, this is I put CB core banking plus ATM, right? They have, sorry, not ATM. ATM support is also, now they have done thorough work, right? We have a very good IT team, just assume, right? So they have developed this. Can they develop? Yes. Because you can modify, because source code is given. These guys are not doing anything, just using whatever my core banking as an object code. They were just not. So these people develop further. So still this is okay under 4th freedom, right? Now, now from here onwards is the main issue comes. Now, okay, there are a few vendors, like a few guys who want to buy it from Bank of Ceylon now, not from me. Bank of Ceylon sells this for 2 million, right? So I will say just now label 3 companies ABC, right? So they have ABC are three other bankers will buy it from Bank of Ceylon, right? And this is completely all right according to Richard Stallman and Foss, right? Because once you give software, it's yours. That's what so later on I will define them. So with the source code, right? Source code, you give permission for them to modify and sell, because once you do that, you can sell, right? So then someone can ask, here, can they sell? Even if this guy can say like, okay, no, because I'm making 1 million, right? So they can say 500,000, right? That will be all right. So this guy is selling for 200,000. So some people are buying from Dexter's, like he has more people than the other guy. That is also possible, because in the 4 freedoms, it doesn't say that whenever you purchase, right, you can share with others, right? It doesn't mean that you have to give free of charge, right? It is for a cost. So whenever he sold for 2 people 500,000, his 1 million is already made. So when he made 200,000, probably 600,000, still 400,000 to be made, or later on he will do that. So that is also possible. You can see this, there are lots of variations coming here, right? But now this is the biggest variation where Bank of Ceylon is now selling that for 2 million, because it's a very powerful one with ATM support. So that's like this original developer won't get it. But only thing is, he is the copyright owner. And copyright owner is the original developer, not the Bank of Ceylon. So Bank of Ceylon always has to recommend Ajanta, right, being the original developer of this software. So we have done modifications, right? But no need to. But of course, if Bank of Ceylon makes a lot of money, they can donate to me some money so that they can ask or develop another software like this core banking, right? Later on, we also can help you, and then let's do business together, whatever. So you can have all sort of things, right? But that is possible. This is possible under open source. Okay, so ABC people have purchased for 2 million each, and you can see this guy purchased for 1 million. Now he made it 6 million. So of course, 5 million profit is there just by not doing banking, right? Software development, right? So you can see, so that is possible. But now I said there's a tricky thing, right? Where Richard Stallman said, so I'll take a different color. When Bank of Ceylon is giving to these people, right, for 2 million, Bank of Ceylon has to give the source code for all, I would say, right? That is, I have given them the source code, so they have done the ATM functionality, so that the whole thing has to be given. So Richard Stallman said, right, because now that's what I am the copyright owner, right? Because of that, Bank of Ceylon can't dictate, no, we are not going to do like that, because then I can sue Bank of Ceylon. They are violating this. That's it, like the 4th freedom. That's why, like I said, 4th freedom is very powerful, 4th freedom. Right? So 4th freedom is where the copyright owner says that always, whenever someone who develops further, right, source code for all has to be given. So Bank of Ceylon can't give object code only for the ABC people, right, for their new modified version, right? So this is under Richard Stallman's Foss, right? That's what, like, you have to give like that. But then some people have developed later, like I will come there. So then there's another Foss type where you don't need to give the source code whenever you modify, right? That's another variant is coming, right? So first of all, we'll try to understand only Richard Stallman stuff, right? And then we'll develop like how others have changed this concept, right? So this is what Richard Stallman said. There are 4 freedoms, right? You can use it for any purpose. You should know how it is working. The source code has to be given. You can share with others free of charge or for money, no problem. Do business, right? You are a good marketeer. You can buy it and start selling for others, right? And then you can, 4th one is you can develop on that, but only condition here is you have to give the source code. Yeah, any questions I can take here, because this is the 4 freedoms of Richard Stallman. Everyone confused with this? Okay, no questions? Okay, I'll go back. So I'll just clear here now. You can see here, that's what the freedom to improve the program and release the improvements to the public so that all community benefits. So what this fourth freedom Richard Stallman is trying to do is, let's say I have developed a core banking, that project will never die. So like he wants to have software because the people has to take the advantage from software. So whatever he said was like, this guy has developed a nice software, right? Someone else has done modification. Then someone else has done modification. So let's say these are like different time periods, like 20 years, 20 years, 20 years, like whatever the newer generation, still this is a very well modified software. But since source code has to be given, the source code is coming. So this is as like after 40 years now, this particular software, still it's available. That's what he said, right? So that is a good thing. So that the whole community will be able to enjoy that and then able to access, of course, for a fee, right? So when I was selling, it's 100 rupees, that now it is like 20,000 rupees, maybe small software, but just assume, right? That can be, that's because when they develop further, they can add price and they can sell, right? But the real copyright owner is this guy, right? Not any of them, right? And that's one thing. And the other thing is, because everyone, like let's say next generation will get this software and then they will do further development. And then again, that is available. So that's what like Richard Stallman said. Now let's take the same scenario in the other way around, like a closing thing. So this is like, I have developed some software. It's just like, let's say we allow them to close it, right? So now thereafter, no one can further develop and that software will be there, right? Let's say this company is bankrupt, that's it, right? That software goes off. Let's assume like something happens to Bill Gates, right? Okay, there was some thing happen, but I don't think that will be impact. But let's say huge problem or like something, and then that's proprietary, right? So the source code was not given to anyone, right? So then probably, let's say, just assume, right? Again, another story, another 5 years time, no Microsoft products will be in this world. And then like we have developed further, right? Let's say another 10 years time. So with our new computers, so this is just dead and gone software, right? So there has to be something else for us to use. But if it was like what Richard Stallman says, right? Then it will never die, right? So that's a proprietary software will die after some time with this business. Okay, like Bill Gates, like probably now like it's been sold and there are some other owners will be there so that it will continue, right? That's a, like from business point of view, like how businesses are evolving, right? But I'm talking about from technical point of view, because the program, right? Because if it is a closed source, right, it will not evolve further and further and go generations to generations, right? But if it is an open source, it can. So people, if you all have students like some free time, this is a nice video you can watch on, this is available on YouTube as well, right? So there's he himself talks about why he has to develop this and importance of, so you can get some idea, right? Okay, so there are 4 freedoms, which is Stallman said with respect to FOSS, right? For the time being, I would say FOSS is, there are freedom, F1, F2, F3, and F4, that is 4 freedoms, right? So that's all we have discussed, right? And later on, you will see that with this, like there's some models, like, because all together, all 4 freedoms together is what we call RMS, Richard M. Stallman's, right? FOSS, right? Because there can be other FOSSes later on coming as well. Okay, before that, let's talk about this license, right? So software license. A software license is a legal instrument, right? Governing the usage or the distribution, how you should be using or how you can distribute. That's where like Bill Gates says that you're not supposed to distribute. Even the office copy, you can't take it home and use it, say that you are still using only office work, right? Still you have to buy another license for that, right? So that's like usage and the distribution. Copyright protected software. It's like all software is copyrighted except the public domain, right? So public domain does not have any licenses, except like others do have licenses. So that's so that license, software license is basically this legal instrument. So all software not in public domain are copyrighted, right? That I have discussed now. So a typical software license grants the end user permissions to use one or more copies of the software in where such the use would otherwise constitute infringement of the software publisher's exclusive right, because software publisher means developer, right? Software developer. So software developers exclusive rights under copyright law. So like Sri Lanka do have copyright laws, right? There are different intellectual property acts, and there are a few acts to come in the future as well. So that's to empower this part, right? So then so you don't have to say that, no, this is US law has to be applied, right? When you use Microsoft, no. When you are in Sri Lanka, right? The Sri Lanka law is enough there to take you to prosecute, like because you have infringed that particular usage, right? So that's you don't need to go take to use US and take copyright acts, right? So there are things happening. I think I told you earlier as well. So Microsoft do raids, right, on certain companies, right, when they got to know, right? And then if they found, so of course, they will take it to Sri Lankan courts and take legal action. So in the effect, software license acts as a promise from the software publisher, that is a developer, and not to sue the end user for engaging whatever the activities you do, right? That's why, like, please remember to read, right, whatever so before ticking that and say agree, right? So agree button, because that is what the license. And later on, the license will be the legal instrument for that to take action. Now, Richard Stallman, so we talked about 4 freedoms. The previous slide was just about what the software license is. So now Richard Stallman changed this concept a bit, right? First, I will read this part. That is not what he did. So with the free software license, in contrast to the proprietary software licenses, it's a bit different. Ownership of a particular copy of the software does not remain with the software publisher. So this is why I said, like, Bank of Ceylon can take over and do modifications. Remember, it's not the authorship or the copyright ownership, right, of that software, right? But remember here, just I will highlight again. Okay, use the highlighter here. Okay. With the free software license, in contrast to proprietary software license, ownership of a particular copy of the software. So this is copy of the software, right? Not the whole software. That whatever the Bank of Ceylon purchased a copy, right? So does not remain with the software publisher. So that is, ownership is transferred to that end user is Bank of Ceylon. So the ownership of that. So that is only the ownership. Don't say that's a copyright ownership. It's not. The ownership of this copy is with the end user. So this is not right. So now don't go and say that, okay, Microsoft product also has to be this. So I said in contrast to the proprietary software. So this is what FOSS, right? Okay, take my pen. So this applies to the FOSS. Right? So if it is FOSS, like my core banking example, I can say Bank of Ceylon is a ownership of that particular copy. So they can sell, they can modify whatever, right? So like, so as a result, the end user by default afforded all rights granted by copyright law to the copy owner. So note that copy owner, so this is like you are a copy owner, and the copyright owner are 2 things, right? Don't get confused if I ask in the exam. Copyright owner is the original developer, right? This is the original developer. So copy owner is just the intermediate user, right, who acquired that particular copy by paying, right? That's like money doesn't make here. So money can or cannot, both okay, right? So no one can argue, no, it has not to be money, like it has to be free. It's wrong, right? Because there's no mention of monetary value here, right? So it can be money or without money, right? You can be a copy owner. So whenever you purchase, whenever acquire, right, a software, you are a copy owner, right? But copyright owner is the original author. So if I read this part, note that the copy owner is not the same as a copyright owner, while the ownership of the particular copy transferred, the ownership of the copyrights remain with the software publisher, right? So additionally, a free software license typically grants the end user extra rights as well. Like, so Bill Gates will not give us any rights, right? Bill Gates says just use it, right? The way I tell you use it, because I'm giving you object code, use it on that particular computer. There are some software gives only to particular hardware. They bind the software to the CPU and the RAM and everything. So if you change hardware, basically you have to purchase another license, or that validity of that license goes off, right? So there are some software like that as well, right? So when you are purchasing software, you have to be very careful, right? Because you don't know like how the license agreements are there. Okay, now only we are going to talk about the open source, the two categories, right? So the open source licenses have two categories. Luckily, there's not many categories. One, as I told you, that there are Freedom 1, Freedom 2, and Freedom 3 and Freedom 4, right? So here, basically, first three freedoms comes with mostly freedom as such, because the fourth one, even though it's Richard Stallman called freedom, it's not only freedom, it's beyond freedom as well, right? So that's where like we differentiate these two, right? Those that aim to preserve the freedom and openness, because fourth, this is, I would say, I put a bracket here and say freedom. These are really freedom, because you should use for any purpose. You should know how it works. It's a freedom for you. That's a open source, and the source code has to be there. And then you have the freedom to distribute with your neighbors, right? But then this is like Richard Stallman say, keep it open, because open means open source, right? Because fourth freedom says whenever you modify, you have to give the source code. That means you can't deny, right? So then this is what we call openness. So the and, it's very important. So both, right? Freedom and openness both together, right? This is what we call Richard M. Stallman's freedom, right? That Richard M. Stallman came up with the name. He used the word copyleft license. So if anyone says this software is copyleft license, that is Richard Stallman's, all four freedoms are here. That means freedom plus openness, both are there. So now later on, so you all have to look, whenever a software someone says, whether it is a copyleft, not copyright, right? Copyleft license. This is a name, by the way. Copyleft is a name, right? Copyleft licenses. And then the other method, this is the first method. The second method, there's a modified version, right? Which people said those that aims to give freedom, the total freedom, right? For them to do, that is we call permissive, only this, without open source. You can see like without openness, right? Why we say freedom? So that means that freedom to the maximum, right? Ultimate, I would say. Ultimate freedom, right? So ultimate freedom means you have the freedom even to close that source, right? That is what like Bank of Ceylon. So if that is the case, if it is a permissive license, Bank of Ceylon can say that, okay, we are closing, because that is allowed under that particular license type, right? So copyleft is basically the four freedoms. Permissive is sort of like the three freedoms, not the fourth one. Okay, so if I take you all back with that discussion we had with my software, So now I will not draw so much. This is me, right? This is my core banking. And then we have sold to so many, but we'll take that BOC example. So BOC purchase that. And then since I am saying this is copyleft license, right? So BOC, after modification, they modified, right? And then all these things with source code, it has to give. So with source code, right? So if I say, no, this software is permissive, then Bank of Ceylon, even permissive, like either copyleft or permissive, I will be giving the source code. So source code can be given. But now when the source code comes here, right, BOC has the advantage, say that, no, we are not giving. This is now object code only. Right? But if it is a copyleft, BOC can't say. If BOC is doing that, I can take BOC legal action because they have taken my source code. I have told them the fourth freedom as well. They have agreed and they have taken it. It's like you are signing the contract and getting my software, right? So that means you have violated the fourth freedom, so I can sue you, right? Because later on, then that means after suing, I can ask for compensation as well as, and then I can say, you have to now give the source code, right? So then you have to give the source code. You have to be very careful on that, right? If you're trying to take business competitive advantage, right, you will not be with copyleft licenses because that always says it has to be open throughout. But if it is a permissive type license, yes, you can take competitive advantage because you can get the source code from the first developer, but then the second or third, whoever in the middle can. But then this is kind of a proprietary software now, because this is open source software when I was selling core banking. Now with core banking with ATM support, it's a proprietary because only Bank of Ceylon, because object code they are giving. Right? So you can see this is till the world is there, right? This is going to be open source. This has a possibility of closed source, that is proprietary. Right? So that is the difference between these two, right? It comes from this with the three freedoms, right? That is this one with all four, right? It goes with the copyleft. So this is that summary, right? I think any software can be mostly proprietary. I didn't put here that you all can draw here freeware, shareware, whatever, right? And public domain also, if you can. Public domain. I didn't put all these things, but just want to highlight proprietary versus other, like free and open source, right? So there's other things also like other share, like donorware, those things also can be here. Public domain is the only exception here without a license. All the others have licenses. But then this is the area I want to explain. So free and open source, there are two things. One is permissive license, where freedom to the maximum. Here, copyleft means preserve the freedom plus openness, right? So that you can get both together and then proceed. Now someone can ask like, okay, we know copyleft is a FOSS license type. It's a one variant, right? It is the main one because this is Richard Stallman is one who really coined this thing, right? But actually the license name is called GPL, General Public License, right? So if you have ever read or if you have downloaded software, if it says GPL, right, license, so that means you know that is FOSS. And always you have to remember these four freedoms. That means like the three that we know now, right? And then the fourth one is like you can do modification, make sure that you have to release those modifications to the public, like whoever who purchases, right? Whoever who obtains your copy. That is we call GPL, right? So, so that's copyleft is a type of that software. This is a real license. There is a license, right? This license is aimed at giving the end user significant permissions, such as permissions to redistribute, reverse engineer, like whatever, modify, and then make money. That's all right, right? So this permission does not, these permissions are not entirely free of obligations, because as I told you earlier, for the end user, however, the end user must comply with the certain terms if the end user wishes to exercise the extra permissions granted by GPL, because if you just try to close it, the software developer or the copyright owner can sue you. For instance, that's what like I'm saying here, right? Any modifications or redistributions must include the source code. If not, we can take legal action. Any of you all have used any GPL software? Since I talked throughout, maybe I will leave for you all to. Anyone has used any GPL software? Any FOSS software? Who would like to answer? No one? Yeah. No one has used the GPL software, right? I think see, like yeah, I think if I take a bit more time, like how many people are using Windows and how many people are using non-Windows, right? So I think almost like 99% might be using Windows, right? So Windows is a proprietary software. So because of that, probably you might also think like you have never used, right? But remember, you can use other software as well, what we call FOSS software, right? So now I didn't talk about Linux. I told you Unix what it is, right, earlier, because Unix is some software that people have used those days as an operating system, right? By the way, it's a proprietary software, right? So we'll talk about Linux later. But now, yeah, since I told you like GPL is the software license for copyleft. So anything called copyleft, the license name is GPL, right? Copyleft is a type, right? So its license type is GPL, and luckily we have only one license type. But there are a few versions that, by the way, I'm not expecting you to know the different versions, right? But there are versions as well. I will show you some examples later, right? But GPL under copyleft, we have only one license. But under permissive, this is the other type, right? Under permissive, there are few licenses, right? So what are those licenses? Like, so under permissive, we have something called BSD, like the Berkeley Software Development, MIT is another university, Apache, like that, there are so many, right? So licenses like, so this can be like some icon, this is, I think, BSD, right? You don't need to know like from exam point of view, right? Just this, you can see it's MIT. So Apache also has some license type, right? Called Apache. So whenever you see those names as licenses, they all belongs to permissive. That means they are coming as source code. So that means they are FOSS. But they are FOSS of three freedoms, right? Not the fourth freedom. So anytime you can get the source code and do modifications, and then you can give only the object code. That is possible. That is allowed under this license. But it is not allowed under copyleft licenses. So here you can see these are Apache. This is that symbol. Apache has this, right? BSD, as I showed you like previous, and the MIT has, and the GPL has a license like that. This is actually GPL version 3 we call. So GPL has version 1, version 2, and version 3, right? But you don't need to know about them, right? Just for your understanding. So provides copyright protection. Yes, all are copyrighted software, so that they are copyrighted, right? So can be used for commercial applications. Yes, no problem, right? So a lot of people think, oh, we can't use for commercial applications. These are just for fun and, like for people to use like normal, like at home. It's really not, right? We are using a lot of big commercial software are FOSS. Like, so these all are FOSS. There are FOSS different types. One type is called permissive. The other type is called copyleft. So this is what I'm showing you, right? Provides an explicit patent license. Yes, permissive Apache has a patent license as well, explicit patent license. Others don't have, right, patent license, but they are copyrighted. And can be used proprietary, closed source. Yes, any permissive type, yes, because you can, but you will never be able to do that in a copyleft because it is false, right? Because you can't close any source because it has to be keep on giving. So this is just a comparison for you all. I'm not sure whether this slide is there available because I probably recently added this, right? But if you want, you can see that once I put the video lectures also, you can see that, right? This is not much, but it's the important points here are there. Yeah, any questions? Because I would like to take some questions from you all, because this is where a lot of confusion will be having among you all as well whenever you are using. So anything that comes to your mind, you can ask.
Yeah. Can you have some example of Apache, BSC, and GPL?
Okay, the software, right? That's what I'm going to show you. Okay, I will show you some right examples. But this concept, like, what we are talking here, right? Because always, like, what you will remember is FOSS is free and open source software, because OS is there, open source, right? Freedom, right? Software. So this OS is what really we are concerned, because all the other software giving object code. So this is only source code is giving. Open source means that. But there are two main types. One is called copyleft, where Richard Stallman, the 4 freedoms, I would say, I put 4F here, right? The other one is called permissive. That is like sort of 3 freedom, not the 4th freedom, right? So that's what, like, these are some examples of them, right? Permissive, because copyleft only one, we have GPL license, right? Only GPL here, right? If you ask, do we have any other license than the copyleft? No. Richard Stallman only proposed this. He's the one, he's a father of FOSS as well, but there's no one. But these are other ones, people who said, no, we would like to have, but we will always like to give closed source option, right? So this is true. Okay, now let's take, I think most of you all, right, are using VLC software, right? Okay, I'll share that now to you all. Yes, please. Can you see my VLC like player? Okay. Hope you all can see. Can you see this? What I'm sharing now with the VLC media player?
Yes.
Okay. So now let's go to about, right? So when you say, you can see VLC media player, always you can check the licenses from there, right? So someone can ask like where to check the licenses. Under mostly right, or about, you can see that. So you can say VLC is a free and open source media player, encoder and streamer. Okay. and it's done by VideoLAN community, right? So then let's see the license. It's here. This is the license, right? So let's click on that. You can see here now, it's GNU General Public License. It's called version 2. Like I said, there are 3 versions, version 1, 2, 3. Now they are using version number 2, right? So that's what it says, right? Let's say VLC player now, right? So you can read, this is a license agreement, and I'm not going to discuss with you all, but just one. Now you all know this. Let's assume VLC player, like I think all of you all have got it free of charge, right? By the way, that means this is available, right, as a what do you call, object code as well as source code. So almost all of you all, right? Because probably some IT guys here in the class might have maybe downloaded the source code, right? And then you can look at the code before you run this, and then because you can look at the code and then you can compile and then you can run it, right? Because all of you all have just downloaded from the VLC website the object code what they have created. That's what you are using. Just you believe that it is the right one. But let's say now you all have a policy like we don't use any other unknown software because we are very clear about the viruses and we don't want to, right? So then you can ask your IT department, download VLC player and compile it and give it and with a name. So that is like, this is what you are allowing because you have gone through that code, right? Because your IT department. And then you know that when you're using this particular VLC or object code, that is very clear. It is running only the VLC, not any other thing, right? So you can do that, but all of you all are not doing that way. If you require, right, you can. Now let's assume VLC player, you have to pay 1,500 and most of you all have purchased 1,500, right, per year, right? Or like just one-time payment, right? So there can be a cost, right? So then Shavinder has purchased that software, and then some of your friends are asking, can I have? But you can say, no, I can't give. This is our company has purchased. So there can be issues like if I give that, right? Because these are software, right? That is true, right? That is what. But then since you know the license, this is GPL, right? So this is the third freedom says that you can distribute, right? So you can do anything. If your company takes legal action against you, you can go to the courts and protect yourself because this software says that you can, because that's what the license is. So, so this can come for a fee, right? Not free, right? But still, those things like you should be able to use it for any purpose, right? You can play even some videos here, right? Let's say certain videos are not allowed to play on the VLC player. You can't say that because it just says that you can do whatever, right? So you can go through the source code. You can share with others. You can develop further on the VLC. So why not you ask, you can put some more variety onto this, right? And make another new version of VLC, right? And then of course, remember this is GPL. Because of that, you have to give the source code whenever someone gets, but you can sell. Now this is free. I don't know like what else you can add to this, right? But let's assume like one guy here thought, okay, we'll add this particular feature which is not available, right? So you can start selling for 1,500 rupees. So that is not a problem. Okay. So the VLC guys like VideoLAN, right, will not be coming right behind you because you will be. So these are the authors who really work. There's a team, you can see. So these are the real developers. Like it's a huge team, right? Even for them to eat one day, like you have to have money, right? So that's why, like I said, software, like always, if you're really using this product to make money, right? Why not you share some money to them, right? Because that is what it has to be. So it's not easy, right? Because software development takes a lot of work and time, right? And a lot of efforts of others. So you should, but however, so you are using software, right? So don't think that if you think, okay, no, we are just not using this, like it's not for us, like this is for some others, it's really not. Okay, so have a look later on as well. So this is VLC player. And then Anyone has used in your organization HRM solutions or Orange HRM? Anyone is using? Can I get some feedback from you all? Yeah, Ayesha? Hello, anyone? Or any of you all using like in your organization an HRM solution, right? So because HRM is very important, right? And then tools are required. So Orange HRM is one particular software, right? And then you can see it's GNU General Public License, right? It has some relations to Sri Lanka as well, right? You can, if you are never used, you can have a look as well. So you can download the source code. It's available. And then you can ask your IT department. So develop further and customize to your requirement, and then you can use it, right? And even if it's a very good product, you can start selling as well, right? So that Orange HRM also do provide and sell. Okay, yes, we are using something wrong with my audio. Okay, thank you. Yeah, Ayesha is also saying that they are using. So that's Ayesha is one of them, right? So so probably you can purchase from them as well for Orange HRM and use it. That is, they are the authors or they are the copyright owners, right? Or else you can just download and your IT department can further modify and develop as well, right? So that's possible, right? How many people here use Photoshop with proper licenses? So I'm not asking pirated software users, right? If you have in your computer Photoshop, and if it is not a proper license, you are not purchased for you. This is a proprietary object code only file software, so they can take action, right? So you are violating in a way, right? So you are not a good citizen, right? So for those people, I would recommend, right? So this is a GNU software called GIMP. So called GNU image processing software, image manipulation software, not processing, image manipulation software. So GNU image manipulation software. So GIMP is almost good as Photoshop, right? Of course, you all have used Photoshop, so that you are trained to that particular interface, how to use that. So this is a bit different one, but you need to train yourself. But then your obligations with licensing and someone is coming under you to take action will not happen. But then someone can ask, VLC is free. Like, is this free? I told you that nothing need to be free, but actually these are free. You can download them. Because today, a lot of software developers, they are like this team, like VLC team also, like you can say VLC player is a very good player, like compared, that's why like a lot of other players have gone down, like which you have to pay and use, right? Because so they are more fascinated about this open source, right? But of course, in the meantime, if someone will be paying them, right, at least donating them for them, so then they might be happy with whatever the money they are getting. That's why they want to give free. If not, they would at least say, give us 500 rupees, right, whenever you purchase, right? Per year. That's a very small, but then into 3 million users. So then, of course, it's a not a bad number, right, for a year to get. But most of these are free today because these software developers are quite happy to give their code free of charge, right? But keeping further development as well. So they are coming as a GNU license, sorry, GPL license, right? The GNU is a project like GPL licenses. GPL license means you get source code, but remember, you can modify as well, right? You can sell if you want, but you have to give the source code back to the community. That is the case. So there are a lot of things that you can take advantage, and especially like this is where, like I said, if you are starting your company, right? So now or startup, right? This is where like you can reduce your lot of investments costs, right, towards software, because you can use this free and open source, mostly free. I will say mostly, not all are free, need not to be, right? And then you can save money and use for your business, main business purpose, right? This slide is also, I just added, like, so whenever you go to the VLC Videoland web page, when you're downloading, it says these are the object, but you can, there's a source code here. So you have probably, if you all are not IT guy, I'm not recommending you to do that, but it is available. You can get the source code, right? Once you're aware, when just click on that and you downloaded the object code. That is what like you downloaded and install it, and but it is there, and it's just not the theory, but it's practical, it's there. And okay, just go back. That's where like even here, Videoland's Videoland page says like you can donate here, right? So you can donate some for few dollars. Like that's how like they make money. Like they are giving the best. Like there's a huge team, right, developing on this, right? So that's the probably they might be doing other jobs as well, but then this is their pet work. But still, if they can, there can be some people who are working under that. So hopefully, some people are paying, giving some money and getting that software. So this is a slide for you all to think further, right? How open source software can provide you. Like anyone is using Microsoft Visual, right? There's something called Dia, right? That is a free and open. So these are mostly 99.9%, I would say, free. As I said here, free programs. So you don't have to worry about Photoshop, GIMP, I just told you. Adobe Illustrator, right? CorelDRAW, it's very expensive software, right? There is open source project called Inkscape. I will not go one by one, right? And Maya 3D Max is again very expensive software people who are doing. So Blender 3D is there. So Microsoft Office, you know, there is LibreOffice, OpenOffice, and there are quite a few other answers as well, right? Star Office, right? So that it's not as Microsoft Office, but you can, because if you have licensing issue. PageMaker, InDesign, right? But Cribus, right? That is also good. There's another very popular one. Where was that? Inkscape, yeah. This is very, a lot of people I have seen, they are using Inkscape instead of Adobe and a CorelDRAW, right? You can do. So that is possible, right? So there are counterparts like these are, again, there is a URL if you all are interested under GNU project itself, right? Richard Stallman is maintaining for Windows, right? Software. So you all can see what software. So this is Richard Stallman. So GNU project is Richard Stallman, so still he is there, right? So he's managing that with a team. So what happened, like when he quit his job and started working, so he can't do all the software. These are all developed by different people. But lot of software developers around the world fascinated about what Richard Stallman said. So they said, okay, we develop code and we give under GPL license. So then that's sort of like Richard Stallman's license. So that is what Richard Stallman wanted, right? As well, like most of the software has come because like contributions, commitments by other software developers towards like his approach and acknowledging that, right? That's where like we do have today a lot of free. If not, like we should be having another software packages with some cost, but of course you can see the source code and use it, right? Instead of seeing only the object code. Okay, now only I am coming to the last part, the Linux, right? Because a lot of people, and if anyone is using Linux, you can tell me whether you are using Linux, right, as your operating system, right, instead of Windows, right? So you can, again, like, if there are like, let's say 1,000 computers now, you have to set it up, like then you have to buy thousands licenses for Windows, but they're going to do some generic work, and then you can use without using Windows, right? There's a Mac user, yes. there's a, instead of Windows, yes, you have Mac as well. Mac is also proprietary, by the way, Apple, right? So Microsoft Windows and Apple Mac both are proprietary software. But Linux is a FOSS software, right? So almost like, I think, okay, now my lecture I started with software. Okay, this is not enough space. Software. I said there are two types of software: system software and application software. So all these things I have shown, these are all application software, right? So then someone can ask, so now you said about the GNU GPL licenses, right? But almost all of them are application software. Do we have system software? So this is the answer for that. Yes, system software. Linux is the system software. So actually what happened was GNU project when Richard Stallman was working. So this guy was an undergraduate, 18 years old, right? Student who is at University of Helsinki. So he developed a Linux sort of, we call kernel, means like the core part, right? So then today we use like, we package this all together. Like he also said, this is a very nice call like Richard Stallman is doing. I would like to devote this as a GPL license software. So his whole system software, whatever he wrote, with others also involved later on, and then he gave it under GPL license. So there was sort of a marriage happened, right, between GNU and Linux. So this is what today we call Linux, right? Because Linus is his name. He's called Linus Torvalds, and this is Richard Stallman, right? So Linux is coming from his name, right? So it's an operating system or system software, right? For FOSS, right? It is coming again with the license GPL, that is copyleft licenses. Okay, so we have now system software, right? That is Linux, right? So Linux, I think I didn't put, this is not, I'm expecting, didn't ask the exam papers. But I think knowing them bad, not bad. I don't know whether I have asked also. Maybe I'll write it down here. So there are, Linux is a main thing, but then there are well-known packages like people call, what you all have heard about. Can you tell one or two names so that I will add? Any Linux versions that you have heard about, like this is there. So Ubuntu, I think a lot of people have heard about, right? Then Red Hat, and then Fedora, Debian. So likewise, there are hundreds of variants of Linux versions available today, right? So if you buy today a hardware box, a computer, right? So you know that first you have to put an operating system. You have to pay money for that because that is expensive, Windows 10, right? And then you have to put application software, right? That different, right? MS Office, right? CorelDRAW, right? And then whatever other packages. So all these things now you can go for FOSS, right? And then you can almost make your software cost free or zero investment, right? 0 rupees. That is possible, right? So that advantage is there, right? So if you're again starting, or let's say now someone says like there are 10 workshops we have, there are security guys, like we know there is small software we have written, just all the vehicles in and out the security guard has to put in, right? So this machine, this very simple thing, like when a vehicle comes, they have to put what the vehicle number, the time in, right? And how many people came, just the thing, very simple thing a security guard can enter, that's all, right? The security guard also doesn't know how to watch internet or whatever, right? So just that's all he's going to do, right? But then you are trying to buy a computer because you need a computer for that, right? And then you have to put, of course, someone can say you can give a tab or whatever. Let's assume we have given a computer. And in that case, we have to have operating system to run, right? So then you have to have some other software, then only it will be working, right? But then you can reduce that cost, right? So that because there are, let's say, 100 places that you have to deploy this particular solution, right? So then that number will be multiplied by 100, right? But you can reduce that cost investment. So those things you can do that, you can think, because that's a way of saving. Okay, one final thing about open source software, right? To give a little bit further advantages. It provides you with a functionality that you would not otherwise have for free. For example, the Moodle that you are using, it is a GPL software, right? Moodle software, which we are using at management faculty, University of Colombo, University of all the universities in Sri Lanka today, right? And so we are using Moodle based, right? There are Blackboard and other proprietary software. They are expensive, like millions of rupees, but we can do with Moodle almost everything that we can do so that we can save costs, right? So even private sector organizations and like companies for their training, you can use Moodle instead of hiring another software, an expensive software, and paying every year license, right? You can use Moodle and do your training. So GIMP, I told you earlier, right? There are so many other software that you can use to reduce your cost as well. Now, the other thing is this second point. It's very, very important point. That is where now let's take a business of yours, right? This is whole your business process. Like there are so many things involved, right? So then we are going to automate this with the software, right? This is, don't think you're going to buy software. Let's say we are going to develop software, right? So then I will show you like what will happen. So then we need a software to do all the things, what whole business process, right? So you have hired a company and they said, okay, they will do that and look after it, right? And then you have to pay for them, right? So what will happen here is they will written the software, and you know, the most important once you have a software is the databases. Because that's where like all transactions, everything we put it into databases and we put all the details. Now, what if these databases are closed source? In the sense they are not open, right? So now you found this is the company one, right? So there is another company who do the same job. So you are paying, let's say 1 million per year, right? 1 million per year for this service. They said they can do that same thing for 500,000. It's a good investment, 50,000, right? 50% less, right? So then you can say, okay, you continue from next 2022 onwards. But only thing is these people can say, no, we are not going to give you the databases because that's on our proprietary framework we are using. We can't give you that. So then what will happen? This guy has to read everything, right? And then all your transactions, right? You can't get it back all the previous one because this is a different format. Today, some banks are facing such things, right? They have purchased core banking solutions. They can't go for new ones because they are sort of caught up with, so this is what we call lock-in state, right? With the proprietary software guy, because they will lock your business in a way without telling you, right? And this all because you have said license agreement, you have signed everything, but they said we keep all the things. We will never provide you that, right? So that's why like you have to be very, very careful these days when you go for tenders, right? Especially software. A lot of people don't think about this because after 10 years only you realize that you can't throw these guys because they will be having all our transactions, because that is what ultimately, it's not the hardware, it's not even the people who are working there. You can replace them, but that business transactions, you can't get it. How can you do like a bank, right? All the transactions are not be able, like how can you enter from 1975, the bank was started, right? All the transactions, right? Because they can say that it is on hard copy. Luckily, it's been saved somewhere on a locker, right? But still, that is a huge, difficult process. So then you ought to go with this particular company, right? Even though you have very good, good solutions, very nice software, but you can't go because you are This is we call vendor lock-in status, right? So with closed source, that will happen. Always you can get locked in with vendors, right? So software, please keep in mind that. So these things has to be open, like that's why like you have to specify in your requirements. That is why now if you go with FOSS software, because they have to give the source code, right? So then you don't have any issue because source code is there. This company will say, that's a like a 1 week job for us. Like we will do the transfer because our framework is different. But since we know the code, like we can transfer, we can write a program and we can transfer to our format and we can make a business running after 1 week. So until that time, so probably we run both systems. Thereafter, we can migrate one to the other. So likewise, so we can see that's like another big advantage of FOSS because source code is there, right? So that closed source is very, very dangerous, especially when you go for tenders, like your system, like we are not talking about just basic applications software. That's what like when I was telling different application software, I want to highlight the custom made software for you, right? So when you're going for them, you have to be very, very careful, right? Even governments are facing that, right? Some of the government institutions having issues like with their old vendors, they can't get them out because all the transactions are with them. And they have never thought earlier when they were signing the contracts, how these databases and everything has to be, right? Because don't give your, because today we say the most important thing is data, right? That is data is oil. But then if you don't own that, so how can you say that's oil, right? That's like somebody else's because that you are given the oil to someone else, right? You'll be very careful. So think about like, that's like MIS systems also when you're working, right? Decision-making process. And one final thing, so that's like open source is much better, right? Or like at least when you are making a software for you, like you have to ask, okay, you can charge whatever the money. So you have to provide us at least the formats of the databases, and then you have to give those things with the details, or like basically you can say the whole source code has to be given, right? Because source code belongs to us, the customer that who pays you, right? Finally, the customization, because since I said like you can get Moodle and then you can customize with your IT department, and then you can use it for your own internal training processes, right? So it's like, so these allows like FOSS allows the customization solutions because of that that Orange HRM, you can do that, right? So those things you can do. This is another slide I just saw it on Facebook. I thought maybe sharing Windows examples and Linux, like some I said earlier as well. This is another one. So this is what I was talking to you all, free and open source software, the importance of that compared to proprietary. So proprietary software are good, but there are issues, right? So then you have to be take into consideration when you're doing things. Now, one last final thing. So someone can ask, so like FOSS is all good, everything we can understand. But one thing is there a way that FOSS can make money, right? So that benefits like, or how to make money. Sorry, make money is next slide, I think. Yeah. The first we'll talk about benefits, right? Benefits I already told, but I want to tell one thing. So cost saving I discussed with you all. So reliability is very good, right? Interoperability is always there, because today, you know, a lot of people say, so this is like a Microsoft like made thing. Like now I said software, there are two things, system software and application software. Okay, now one application software called MS Office. To run, Microsoft says I need MS Windows. That is in the kind of a control. It need not to be, there's nowhere it says application software and system software has to tally. This is all Microsoft is doing. Or like sometimes Microsoft with others, like for example, Photoshop. They said it has to be on MS Windows, right? Server edition, whatever, then only this will be running. This is also like, this is two different vendors, but they are asking them. Need not to be, because now you can see VLC player. Like if you all have a Linux machine, it will be running. If you have a Windows machine, it will be running. If you have a Mac machine, it is running. So that is, it will be like that, because need not to be from any specific system software for application software to work. But today, interoperability is not there. But when you go for FOSS, it is not there. Right? That is always interoperability is there. So that this I discussed with you all, the vendor lock-in, open standards, right? Avoidance of vendor locking, local development industry, localization, right? Because local development, and also you can localize that, right? To your requirements, integrate with that. Okay, one final thing. So this I would like to discuss with you. Security. So there are two cases I'm going to take. Proprietary and FOSS. Which one is more secure? Proprietary software or FOSS software? Can tell me. Anyone would like to tell? Which one is more secure?
Proprietary software.
Proprietary software. Why would you say like proprietary software?
Because it is more secure than the open source softwares.
Yeah, it's a closed, right?
Yeah, close.
Yeah, this is open. Yeah, so that when you look at it, that's like so I asked from you all as well. It's good answer. So a lot of people think the proprietary software is secure, whereas FOSS is not. But this is a debatable thing, right? And I will give a different angle for you all to look into this as well. Now, the thing is, when you have proprietary software, only a very few people, the development team will be seeing that, because all the others, it is object code, right? Because that no one can see and tell. Whereas in FOSS, like source code is being given, there are thousands of people seeing this code, okay? So if there is some problem in the code, some of these people quickly tell that there is a problem, we have to update that, right? If not, there can be this kind of thing can be, there's a manipulation can be done, or like someone can act in a different way, so that we can rectify them very quickly. We call patches can be put. So patches to this software can be put. But here, only thing is object code, but unless these people have not seen, the problem will be they are in the closed source proprietary software. Okay, so that is why, because some, now they can say bad guy here, right? This is the bad guy. So that he will be trying his best to see whether he can break into this system, right? By manipulating something, right? Is that they use different, these are like these bad guys. They are very, very intelligent. That's why like they can do that. And then that's how like they do put viruses into the system, and then they do some attacks, right, to the system, right? That is one of the reasons, because sometimes these people have not seen that, right? That particular error. Now someone can say then that can't you do the same thing the bad guys here? Yes, they can do that. They can do that. And that's why like I would say like first some people will see that with the bad guys as well. They will rectify that issue, right? Here rectification, only these people has to see that. And also like for a bad guy to hack a open source software doesn't have any thrill, because there's no thrill at all, right? Whereas if you hacked a closed source software, a proprietary software, so you are a guy, because it's not easy to do that, right? Yeah, so then the challenge, like more appealing for proprietary software to be hacked than open source. So now remember, a lot of people say that FOSS is like free of viruses. Really not. Anything can have a virus, because that's a manipulation of the code and then trying to see whether something can be planted into that, right? But of course, yeah, someone can say FOSS, since it's open, you can see that. But of course, there are a lot of other people also seeing with you, with the bad guy. So then it will be fixed very quickly. Whereas here, you can't see it, but they can predict and then do that. So then this will be hacked. So that's why, like you might say, like Windows machines have more viruses coming compared to FOSS. Like Ubuntu, like if you say how many viruses Ubuntu has and how many viruses Linux had last 2020 year, right? If you can find some statistics right later on, so that you will see, right? That is because I'm not saying Windows is a bad software. It is also very good software, but only thing is it's proprietary. So don't come to us straight away as Tiranga who gave the answer, conclusion of the security, because security can be looked in different way. So FOSS also has advantage because quick rectification can be done when someone sees that. So that is there. So don't think that FOSS is insecure, right? So then because today we use like web servers, right? If you look at the web server market share, I think 65% to 75% is called Apache. Apache is like Apache's license that we talked about earlier as well. Apache web server, right? So Apache, that's what they have their own license type. That's a permissive type, right? But that's a FOSS, right? If you look at Windows IIS server, it's about like maybe 25 to 30%, right? Market share. So then these where like most of the web servers are running. Right? You might have heard about domain names. So we discussed that DNS servers. Most of the DNS servers are running on Linux machines, right? 99%, I think, right? 95%, I would say, right? What else? Web servers. And yeah, now this way like LMS, Moodle, right? So Moodle is a free and open source software. A lot of like in Sri Lanka, if we take even private sector companies, organizations, institutes are also using Moodle, right? So all the government sector, we all use, right, Moodle. So that's one thing. So you can see open source is not always insecure, right? They are sometimes the best, and the higher market share is there with them. Yeah, one final slide, that is like how to make money, right? So then what even Richard Stallman said, RMS was telling we should not make money, software developers, right? Software developers should not make money by selling the software, because software is, he said, it's a piece of entity, like it has to be owned by others, like, so this particular software is not what you should make. So what is it? Give that free, right? Even that will be all right. But then you charge for support, like 24/7 support, training or whoever the staff members, customization the way you want. That's where like Orange HRM is charging you for customization or integration with your existing systems, or to certify, like Red Hat. There are so many other companies also like open source. They are having certification, right? And you can offer warranty. We will offer you a warranty because we know the software, how good they are, right? So that they will give a guarantee or warranty on the software. So that's where like there are different other ways as well to make money, right? Rather than selling the software, because Bill Gates sells the software to you. That's why like it says 9,500 rupees per year, right? You have to, so that is like say MS Office or O365, right? So that's how like you can use that. Yeah, I think with that probably I will be ending. Yes. So finally, I would like to say like open sourcing saves you many money of your marketing and sales costs, like whatever, right? And then you can, and the product, your product can be good, like to get a global market so that you can use open sourcing, right? Not all open source are free. So there are some open source software like they call FOSS, right? So that's why like don't say like, okay, so then I'll have it because it can be 1 million rupee, right? So that's not always free, right? But I would say a huge percentage is free. And then not all proprietary software is licensed for a fee because there can be some software can be coming as free. It's freeware is one thing, right? Because freeware is one and shareware. But there are some proprietary software like that's what you all are using. Sometimes some software for free. But now, for example, Zoom, that you can use it like not you are listening, but if you are really making a lecture later on, like 40 minutes, that's like a shareware thing because only up to 40 minutes, right? To use it, you have to pay. So likewise, there are different free versions, right? Shareware, freeware. Yeah, whenever it says, because they are also proprietary software. So don't think that proprietary software always we have to purchase for a fee. So that's not the case, right? Okay, so that's the second lecture. So I can move to the third lecture topic, right? Which I have shared the slides with you all. So it's like this is open source with closed source, right? So this is closed. This is open. So which one you can take the advantage you can look into, right? So which is better for you as well. And then some cost saving. So if you all have any questions, I will take the questions. Just give me 1 minute. I will load my next set of slides.
So one question that
Sure. Ask.
For security point of view, that you asked that open source, so the closed source, what is the most security when compared to both sources, or the proprietary, or whether they both have the same security issues?
Yeah, both have same security issues. Yeah, right.
Right. That's the thing. Yeah.
Because
so we can compare one over other, right?
Yeah. That's that. I said like open source, like since it's if there's a bug in the program, bug in the sense like it's some problem in the code, right? So someone will see that and fix it very quickly. Then a hacker will come there and try to do some attack, right? But whereas in the closed source, the problem is if the developers have not seen that, so until something happens, it will be there because it's not being looked by so many as opposed to open source. Yeah, any other questions? Okay, here this discussion is more on to security now, right? So all the security related stuff you can ask as well. So this is a bit of a longer lecture. So I will try my best to do some part here today, and then we'll continue next week. And yeah, probably it's my last week. And then, but however, we'll try to understand this is very important for business, and especially today with e-commerce, e-business, right? So a lot of related concepts will be discussed here. And the other thing is, there's a question, someone was asking, what is the main difference between Linux and Windows operating systems in terms of performance? Yeah, performance wise, like what purpose you are using. So there are two different things. I'm also not going to tell like which one is good, right? But you can experience both one thing, right? That then you will see, because some day-to-day work when you are doing, basically there's no noticeable difference between them, right? But in certain tasks, yes, there are. But of course, some of the servers today running, like even if you take University of Colombo, like 95% of all the servers are on Linux, right? So we don't have like we have just only one like Myobi, like financial accounting software that is running on a Windows server. Other than that, all the others are running on Linux servers. So likewise, so that if you look at other companies also might have a similar scenario, right? Maybe someone here who is from SLT or Dialog can talk about their data centers, like how many Windows servers people have. They might be having any number, but how many are usage at the moment, right? So those, if you look at it performance-wise, it's not like, it depends on your situation, but however, you can have a look. That's a chat question. Okay, coming back to this one, it's basically those security technologies, but I do have to talk a little bit on theory because to understand, but not very high-end theory, right? It's very simple concepts, right? But try to understand that very clearly so that then there is a small concept like how different keys are being used to do the exchange. So like today, I will try my best within this time period, try to explain that and get that concept clearly. So then the rest of things, like it's quite easy, like just builds on that, right? By the way, again, if you have any questions as we go on, you can ask here. I try to clarify. So why security? Because today in electronic form, like easy to make copies, original and copies almost same, right? That's why like copies are good as the original. So that's very affordable, environmental friendly, everything is there. So then we have to think about the security. Now, okay, before coming here, let's go back to my first lecture as well. I said this is a network, right? It's not internet, but just say a small LAN we call local area network, right? So these are computers connected, like let's say your office environment, right? And then these are all your computers, ABC. Let's say you send a message from Z to A, right? Some message. Whenever it goes on this network, it is going as, okay, now new terms are coming, plain text message. Plain text message means a message like this, which I have written or which my slide like this, right? This is plain text. You all can read and understand what it's all about, right? But if I write something like this, you don't know what is this, but you all can read this, right? But you don't know what this I'm meaning here, right? So this is something like I'm saying we are finishing the lecture at 6:15 today, right? So, but that's how like I have interpreted that. I can read that, right? But you all might not be able to, right? This is arbitrary one. That like don't try to see like how to tell that exactly. I will not teach you because this arbitrary sentence I said, but like that, right? But here, except this, right? Okay, if I cut down that, rest of the things in the slide here, it's just readable. That's what we call plain text message. This is a plain text message kind of, right? This you can read. So this is what happens today, right? So if I am here in this computer, right? Since I am IT guy, right? I can read this message, what is there. There's no problem, right? If you have given me access to a network, right? I have very simple tools. I don't have to pay to anyone. These are available, right? The free tools that I can read whatever going on this network, right? I need a little bit of access to a network and maybe the switch that is being connected. Then basically I can do everything all one desk, right? So that means that is why like we are giving Wi-Fi connection and someone parks that car here and try to connect to a computer and their computer, and then they can come into a network and start reading all the data that is going through, right? So very important data is going, just you all are using a simple HTTP server, right? Within all the to communicate or send your data like customer databases, everything shared like among them, right? So I can capture them very easily, right? Because these are all plain text messages. So that is what computer networks are designed like that. So don't think there are any special networks, right, beyond this, right? So if someone asks, so then how about these firewalls and everything? Yes, firewalls we put somewhere here on your network to protect the traffic coming from outside to scan it and see, right? We were talking about virus guards, like something like that. It will be checking whether this is good traffic or not, right? So that's why, like, so whenever you are inside the network, right, everything goes as plain text. That is how computer networks are working, right? This is a fundamental thing. So then we have to find a solution for that to rectify that issue, because others will see this and read it. Earlier, this one also, you can read it, but next one is understand. If you can read and understand, basically you lost it because that information is being stolen by someone else, right? To stop this, from those days, I think if you were school days also, you might have done this methods that we call cipher, right? So secret writing, right? So you can have secret writing, and then secret writing means like, so let's say this is, let's say from, so I will take the next letter, right? So I convert from like this, FG, right? So this is now from becomes GSPN, but GSPN is like, we know that if you go one level before the previous letter, that's a word is, right? So I'm sending GSPN, right? But then this stand for from. So like I took a small example, right? Just that's a simple letter. Let's put like. So now this is what we call secret writing, right? We call scrambling the data, right? So these are the scrambling techniques. So that technique is we call a key, or some people used to call algorithm. Algorithm. By the way, if you all feel that algorithm is very, very dangerous and very, very technical, no. Like if you all know how to cook something, right? A recipe, right? So that is almost algorithm is that, right? It's a kind of a recipe how to do this, right? So algorithm is a term we use because that term will be coming later on in my slides. That's what I just use that term. It's kind of a recipe, right? If you know how to make a cake by looking at a cake recipe, the same as like you can do something by looking at an algorithm, right? So then we will be using with the algorithms some keys. The key here is basically algorithm is previous letter, right? So then key is 1 because I just put only one letter. Someone can say you can shift 2 letters and then put that word. So then the key is 2. The algorithm is shift by previous letter. That's what like previous, you can say previous 1 letter and say key and both are inside, but just to make it generic, we can say algorithm is your previous letter, but then the key is just go 1 letter previous or 2 letters previous, whatever you can do that. So I will not read. So this method is we call cryptography, right? So cryptography allows secure transmission of private information over a insecure. Now you will say there might be secure channels like networks. No, all networks are insecure, right? So we make it secure by using cryptography. So cryptography is a technique, right, or an art, right? So cryptography. So cryptography allows secure storage of sensitive data, right? So cryptography is often misunderstood with misuse security tools. Today, more than ever, privacy is a necessary part of the business communications, right? So that's a privacy and everything to preserve, like we can use cryptography, right? So encryption is what I can say, like simple term. So how do we implement them in the global open network of internet, because internet is an open network. So internet is not secure, by the way. So it's not a secure channel. That is why that time we were selling, this is a normal HTTP protocol. This is a web protocol, but this is not a secure protocol. That's where like someone said, we have seen HTTP s://. So that's it, like how with this theory here applied, right? That becomes, this web becomes secure web, Right? So web is not secure because internet is not secure. Right? So we can't make internet secure. What we do is we make the application secure by encrypting. To what level of encryption is sufficient to provide safe and trust on the net? That is what we are going to discuss. So these are some encryption mechanisms. Just don't worry too much, right? Just what I said here, shift linear, like 3 changes, like the previous example. I am, so I can just say like, I can take look at it here, 3 shift like I letter, and then L like that. I can keep on writing. There are some things that you can write. For example, Ajanta, that I written only first 3 letters. 269, that is the key is 269. First letter 2 letters, second letter 6 letters, third letter 9 letters. Again, fourth letter is 2 letters. With 269, 269, it goes on like that. That's how, like, so 269. So always when you are shifting, you have to go back 2, go back 6, go back 9, then only this will be coming, right? Whatever the letters. So there are different ways of Caesar ciphers, right? People have tried to make people not to understand, but can read, because you can't stop reading, right? There's no way like scrambling and making sense of. So what we can do is now, it's more like an analogy I can take. Take this example. So you are at home, right? So this is your bank. And so bank want to send you the password to online login, right? So only thing is bank can use a postcard. That's all. Let's say at the moment, that's the only technology they have, this particular bank, right? So then, you know, this is your password, 1315. If you send that, the postman, whoever, when you drop into the letterbox, like the servant who was working, right? And then it was lying on a table, like some of your friends who came to see you, everyone can see this number because it is on the postcard, same as that on a network, right? It's nothing but it's a postcard, sending on a postcard. So what bank can do is just scramble that. This might not be the number, right? This will be the number, but then the key is being told to you over the phone or whatever, right? Then the bank uses some key and convert this, scramble it and send it. And now you can do it. So that need not to be numbers. Let's say 3F49, right? So then this is like, when you convert that, it becomes 1315, right? So that's the only way that you can do, right? So the network always think as a postcard scenario. So then you will not miss anything. That's why, like, whenever you send your credit card number and CVS, whatever the number, that the 3-digit number, right? For an internet transaction, don't put it on a postcard and send it, right? That is what that day also I said, if it is HTTP, don't do that. Don't put your username and the password and send it on a postcard. This is how network sends your data. So you have to scramble before send, right? So that is what we can only do. There's no other technique. Only postcards are available. Okay, you can't put it inside an envelope and close that, right? So that then whatever inside will not be seen by the others. So they have to open it up, and then when they open, we can detect whether it's been opened or not, right? So there can be like our other solutions, but we don't have such solutions. We just have one postcard. Okay, so we're keeping that. So this is the theory part, right? So what we are doing here with computers. So this is a plain text. I hope you all can read that. Central to the growth of e-commerce and e-governance. Don't look at the meaning, just read, right? You can understand something. Is the issue of trust in electronic environment, right? Now, this is the scrambled data, right? Can you read that? Yes. Can you understand? No, right? How can you do that? By using a key, right? So the message one becomes encrypted message, right? So we say this is, please write it down, these terms, plain text. Whenever we do encrypted, we use a nice word. This is cipher. We call ciphertext. So when I say ciphertext, it is also letters you can read, but you can't understand. Plain text, it is text you can read, but you can understand the meaning. Right? That's the only difference, right? So if I ask, I think this is one last year also I asked in the example, what is the difference between plain text and ciphertext? Plain text, the meaning is not there, but read and you can read. Ciphertext, don't say you can't read. A lot of people used to say, I think it's cipher is encryption. You can't read. That is a wrong answer because you can read here. This is what, think of the postcard. This is what we are going to write. Okay. So this is a wrong answer. Please don't understand in that way. Right? No understanding. Understanding is right, not understandable. So now just clear again here. So just think about network. Like, so you did this, and now this is what will be going on the internet, right? And this is what the receiver has received. So receiver has received this. So all the bad guys who are on the internet, who are trying to read your text, they will be reading this. They will say, okay, we read it. Okay, they don't know what it is, right? But the key only has with the recipient, right? So this, the same key you can see here, the blue color key, that's a blue color key, right? So now when you reverse this operation, this process is called encryption, right? When you, what is meant by encryption? A plain text message will get encrypted to a ciphertext. That is what encryption. So what is decryption? You get a ciphertext message and decrypt to the original message, right? So this is what we do, right? So this is what, if you do with HTTP, or if you write your letter is like this. So this is becomes now HTTPS when you are sending, and then it is all right. And then recipient, the merchant, let's say this is a client, this is a merchant. The merchant reads that. Now merchant converts because you have told the merchant the key. So here the most important thing is the key should not be shared, right? Only between the sender and the receiver. Because if it's shared, then these people also can do the same thing, right? So this method, okay, clear. This method we call, because we use the same key to encrypt and decrypt. It's just like padlocking, right? Because you can think like you have this postcard now, right? Written everything. You put it to a box with a padlock and then you lock it, right? And the key is with you and another key you have given to. So now you send the box. Now no one can, let's say they can break the box, right? Just visualize now. So they can break the box, they pass it. That's like the box has to be passed through. The bad guy is also passing. That is coming on the internet. And then finally it comes to the recipient. But now the recipient has the key, other key, and then he just put that and open. And now we can get the postcard. So this is what we call symmetric key, same key, right? So then some people call this is symmetric key cryptography. Symmetric key cryptography, right? This cryptography is like encryption. So what is meant by cryptography? You encrypt with a key and then you decrypt with the same key. That's what I say. Same key is what we call symmetric key cryptography. Look here, another example. Better to clean this. Now this time, okay, don't look at the previous one. I should have removed in my slide. This is a text. Now you can't read because this other, my symbol has come here. That's, okay, there was some text here. We don't want to understand. So you encrypt, same thing, encrypt, and you get the ciphertext here. Right? Now you can see that ciphertext is being sent on the network. The recipient has received that. Now he uses a key and decrypt, and you get the same message. The internet knows no geographical boundaries, whatever like it's there, right? Same thing. right? But okay, now here the difference is not the same key, two different keys, right? K1 key and K2 key. So this is we call asymmetric key cryptography. We don't have such padlocks here, right? If we had a padlock, I would say you put your postcard to a padlock and you lock with a key, but you need a different key to open. We don't have such padlock, right? So that's what don't try to visualize this, right? And say that, yeah, sometimes when I do physical lectures, some people ask, especially in the banking sector, is that the locker, bank lockers we have? No, that is also a separate thing because you have two locks here. There are two people has to be there to open and close. But what I'm saying here is this is a special padlock, right? Maybe you all can start thinking to develop such a padlock thing, right? So this is that letter, and then you put this into a box and this key. So you put with this key, you lock it, and then you keep the lock, the key that you send the box around, and there's another key to put into the same padlock, and then you can open, but not from the same one. You can open again, because when you put the letter and lock with this, you can unlock. Unlocking, there's another one, the red one. Right? So red one is for unlocking. Green one is to lock. So green one can't use for unlocking. And similarly, the red one can't use for locking. It has always for unlocking, right? So that is what this method, right? There are two different keys between the receiver and the sender. Right. So that means cryptography, I will write here for shorten crypto, right? Crypto means cryptography. Cryptography has with one key that you can do this, or you can use two. I would say different here, because if not, you say two keys, like same key. It's not. Here also we need two keys, but one key is being used for sender and the receiver both. Here two different keys, right? So it's like, so these are two techniques, right? So first we will talk the first method, because the first method is very easy, which is with the padlock scenarios you can understand that this method, right? So we'll discuss about that method. But however, unfortunately, on the internet transactions, internet means like business transactions, we can't use this method, right? We have to go for this method, right? So this is the method we have to do, right? That is what we have to, but I will explain this method. This is also you should understand, right? But however, I would say internet you can use both, but internet for business. Right? So then we need the other method. Okay, so there are these some of the terms that I said earlier also now coming back. So cryptography algorithms, like these are the two things, right, which I just drawn. Secret key algorithms means only one single key, right? But remember, now we have two guys. This is called sender, the guy, the receiver, right? So this particular key I put K1, both same K1 has to be in both sides, because if not you can't, right? So one key, use one single key to encrypt and decrypt that, but both has to be there, right? If not, someone has to carry that and give it to that person. So that is what we call secret key. When you use two different keys, one key is called, this is K1 key, public key, the other one is called private key. There are two keys now. That means there are two keys, like K1 will be used to lock, K2 will be used to unlock. Right? He also having K1 key, but that is to lock. This is this way direction. To send the other way direction, he will use K1 to lock, and then this one will be using K2 to unlock, right? Whatever. So that's why the sender receiver will be changed when the arrow is the other way around, because then he is going to be the sender, he will be the recipient. So when you have two different keys, right, the public key and the private key, there are two names. Here we call generally single key, a lot of people used to call secret key. That key, because here keys have names, public key, private key. So here I didn't say that's just key. That's why like name also says as private key. Sorry, the secret key, right? By the way, this method is also called public key algorithms. Unfortunately, there's a key is also called public. So that's, don't get confused, right? This is a key name. This is the algorithm name. It is a method name. This is a recipe name, right? Recipe name is called public key. The other recipe name is called secret key. But in the exam, if you say that single key algorithm, 2 key algorithm, that will be a right answer, right? Because I know that then you will understood that, because probably because of probably you have confused, and then to put here private key, because if you put private key is wrong actually. Out of this key, either key should be put here. It's really not. Public key is the method, right? So, but if you say 2 key problem, that algorithm, that will be all right. Now the cryptographic algorithms must be public. Now the algorithm, whatever, the recipe is common, right? That is sender knows, the bad guy knows, now because we have now 3 people at the moment, bad guy or vice, right? Bad guy, and then the recipient, receiver, right? So all are known to this algorithm. It is cryptographic algorithm. Only the secret thing is the key. Key is with sender and the receiver. Bad guy should not be having a key. So this you will be doing that, right? I think how many of you all have done this? Send a Word document or Excel file mostly, right? You put a password to the Excel file, right? And then you send to a friend, right? And then the friend will open that encrypted or like password protected Excel file with that password P1. Let's say you have put a P1 password, right? And then you send that to the recipient, and then he or she will be using P1 password, right? And then he can open. How do you send this P1 password to the recipient? How do you do that? How do you send that? I need answers from you, because then only we can. Yeah, this part I will try to get involved you all, because then you should understand this well. Now, this is what you all are doing. Most of you all have done this, right? Either Excel file or a Word document, even a PowerPoint presentation, you can put password protected and then send it to the other side. But I'm asking, how do you send that password to the other person?
By email.
By email? Okay. Okay. We'll take, because we'll discuss that. Okay. Sorry. Oh, shit. Okay. This is, keyboard is, it's okay. So I'll do the same thing here. So this is what P1, right? You want to send it, sender. See like how this P1 to be given to the recipient. See, right? So bad guys is also here. One method, email. Any other? Yeah, others? How do you do that? Just think of, this is Excel file. Easy, because you don't need to know about any security, right? This is what you all are practicing. Excel file. Is that only Ranga has sent this? How about others?
I'm not sure my answer is correct. Maybe by default, these 2 people might have the keys.
They have to, by default, they have to like exchange the keys, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
maybe. Yeah, I'm
maybe
not sure.
exchange by meeting, I would say.
Yeah, because they cannot like transfer these through this platform. So
Why?
maybe it's insecure, no? So in a
Very
plain
good,
text,
very
it
good.
cannot
Yeah,
be.
that's right. So then I think early answer, this is not a right answer, right? So this is wrong answer. Email is not the right way. If you are doing that, don't do it again, right? Because now we discussed that. So it's gone as plain text, right? So that means just think of your postcard, right? You are writing on the postcard itself. This is the password to open that, right? Or like you are giving the padlock key with the key also with that, right? Don't do that, right? So yeah, this is by exchanging, by meeting them, right? So that is all right. But however, are there any other solutions? This is all right. It's not bad, but I don't think then these two have to meet. Let's say this is in Sri Lanka, he is in USA, and this is the time period is 2020, 1 May. So travel restriction is also there, right? So now if I tell the scenario, in that scenario, so the second answer is also, Chenthil's like answer is also wrong, right? Because now you can't meet each other. So then,
So actually, we are getting by email, getting some instruction like put your date of birth like that most of the time.
that is what some banks also doing that now, right?
Yeah.
Electronic.
Just I'm telling, yeah.
As long as you have a private thing here, yes, you can. But let's say this bad guy now, always think of this bad guy. So bad guy also knows your date of birth, right? Your ID card number, right? So then that's going to be very dangerous, right? The same thing happens because you are giving the instructions on the envelope, so on the postcard itself. Yeah, so some banks are even recently, I also got some because now bank statements are sent as electronic form and they said, okay, use this. Like some banks have so many things to add. Some banks only 1 or 2, right? So that, yeah, if the bad guys know some of that common details, yes, you can. But of course, yes, if you have a private thing between you and the other person, that will be all right. That's where like the second thing also like said, like by meeting that you can do, but that's where like I just made the scenario such a way that you can't do that now. You can meet it. But is there any other solution way to do this?
Put in a text message.
Yes, that is a SMS, right? Yeah, SMS message, because that's a different path, different channel, what we call, right? So the SMS goes to him. SMS not using the same, they say this is the internet path, right? Internet, right? It's not the main internet path, right? So SMS message, yeah. So we say this is use a different channel. Use a different channel, right? Than what the channel you are using, right? So SMS is right. That is right. This is a correct answer. So someone can say, you can call and tell the password. You can phone that person, right? So that will be also okay, right? And then even someone said like, if can someone fax that number? It's not a good way to send passwords, right? Because it's fax machine, then a lot of other people can read that, see that. But at least in this context, yes, because that is a different channel, right? But it's not a good one, right? But SMS or the phone call, that will be. If not, the second one has to be done. Right? That's the second.
Or use a TeamViewer and try login to that device and login.
Yes, you can do that, TeamViewer. But again, TeamViewer is not a, like if it is you are using a secure mode, that will be all right. And if not, there can be again issues. Like that's where like you are trying to use a same channel, right, through that. But as long as a secure channel, that will be all right, right? Because then it also has to exchange. Then if it's a secure channel, then the chicken and egg problem comes. Then I will ask, how did you exchange those keys between TeamViewer username, password, or whatever, right? So that's the issue, right? So only option is this third method, that is use a different channel or meet each other, right? But you should not the same channel. There are some ways that you can do, but always have some issues. So always remember that, and please never ever tell what the password on an email message. Some people say like, I send my attachment first and then later on I send another mail saying this is the password, but still it's on another 2 postcards, like the postman can read both, right? So that because of that, it's not a safe method. Is that clear? Yeah, any questions, any doubts, please ask, right? This is where like I want to go with you all, right? Rather than just finish this. So yeah, so this first method, right, is like, so this my first, this slide, like few 1, 2, 3 slides are there. This is what we call the secret key, the first method, like with one key, right? With one key. So this is what we do, right? You have your plain text message, right? This is by pictorially. So this is easy to understand as well. So there is an algorithm inside here. So the algorithm is inside this box, right? For algorithm to work, you have to provide a key only with the sender. So this is the sender actually. So please write it down, right? It's not some of the here, like some of the slides I have purposely kept it not 100% complete because just you all to understand and write. So this is the sender actually. Sender has to put the key. So then this will produce a ciphertext. The ciphertext is sent on the internet or network, whatever, right? So that even within local network, that same thing. So now again, the algorithm for decryption is also here, this box. And now the receiver should have the key. That's where like some other channel, it has to be provided. So this is like we call off internet method, which we discussed earlier. So this key has to be exchanged. So the bad guys are all here. And now you get the ciphertext, you put the algorithm with the key, what you get is the same plain text that was originally that you had, right? So that is what we do. So a variable value, it is a variable value that is used to cryptographic algorithms to produce ciphertext or encrypted text, which is we call or decrypted encrypted text, right? The length of the key. So then if I ask like how secure, like how can you make this is method like, okay, system A is more secure than system B. So we have same model, like we are using one key model, one key, right, encryption. So if I ask, how do you say like one system is better than the other system? Basically, the length of the key. That is you do as well. So sometimes you put 3-letter text password, or like it is not good. So then you can put 8, right? Or it can be something else, right? So that's where like sometimes we have to increase the length of the key, or it's kind of, you can map it to your password, right? And then that is where like we say difficult to decrypt. Okay. So here, that is the important thing. Now, if I ask, since I just talked about passwords, can you tell me some of you all, like, what is your length of the password? Don't tell me, even I'm the lecturer. You should never tell your password to anyone. What is the length of your password? So I want to see some numbers, like just check your password. Don't.
8 to 20 characters.
So what is your password? I want just, you might be having one password to log into Gmail, let's say, right? How big is your password length?
8 characters.
8 characters. Okay, characters.
12.
So we have 12. Okay. Any other numbers? Other than 8 and 12, any other numbers? Just check your password.
14.
14. Okay, good. Anyone who would like to beat this?
11.
11. Okay, it's there. Looks like we had 14. Okay, I'll stop there. So that's where yeah. So then bigger is better, we say, or hard to crack or break, right? So we say, yeah, today context minimum should be 8, right? But however, remember, as computers become faster and faster, so that how easy to break is just taking years to months to hours. So because of that, we say that when the technology is improving, you have to increase your difficulty of your password more and more, because there are something called brute force attack. So brute force attack means you just try all possible things, right? With 8 letters, right? 8 characters, not letters, characters. It can be numbers, letters, punctuations, right? So then let's say, so this can be random, like NIS3C hash 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Let's say something like this, right? So this is like, let's say accidentally one of yours password, right? NI3C hash ICE, right? Or capital E here, and something like this, right? You can use. So computers can try all these possible things with try changing everything one by one and see whether it's going to hit with their password. So don't think that it's brute force attack means like in an ATM machine, only 3 times they can try and do that. No, whenever message got to my computer, if I have a software, I can try all possible. I can run for weeks, months, right? And then try and see whether it is going to match with the 8 characters, whatever it generates one by one changing, right? So if these computers are so fast, they can change very rapidly and they can find your combination and bang, you got it, the answer. That is your password, right? That is why we say your increase. So I say today, 8 is not good because the computers are very fast as well. So minimum 8. So I would say 12 here is good. At least you should try to change your password next time, right? To a 12 character password. Then also, like, you know that you have to have letters, numbers, capital, simple, punctuation marks, whatever possible, right? To make it so difficult to brute force attack, right? So don't put all dictionary words, like within hours we can break that. If you just put only letters, right? There are software that people have written that is for brute force attack, and try to find that. And within very fast computers, within like, let's say 3 months time. So then I have found your password after 3 months, but still if you are using that, so I can use it. That is why banks and everyone says that after some time period, we can do. So if we say that it takes about 100 years to find my password, I would say, okay, that's a very safe password. It's breakable. Any password is breakable, right? But it takes long time to break. So then we are okay, right? That's why like we have to keep on changing the password as well as have a longer password. So I think 14 is very good. There were 12 people, so the 11 can increase with 1, but all the others, like, try to make it your password next time to a 12, but try to remember, and then don't come and blame me because you told me at the lectures to make it. Now I have forgotten it. I can't help, right? So you have to remember and don't tell others, don't write anywhere.
So I have a question.
Sure, sure. Ask.
Yeah, most of the bank, even the PIN numbers, four letters, four numbers.
Yeah,
or six
4 and
numbers.
now I think 6. No, like new banks, like yeah, 4 letters. Yes.
Yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, because that is with the card, right? Because you have to have the card and with the
Card.
Yeah. So but here we are talking about only your password, right? Yeah. So this is also need to be, I think any bankers here, like I think now the new ATMs, they provide like 6, no, the new softwares. Am I correct or am I wrong?
Yeah, it's 4, sir. Still 4.
Is it still 4?
Yes.
Okay. I thought 6. Okay. Sorry about that then.
I think HNB has 6
Yeah, maybe that's what I think I might be using one ATM number of 6. I can't remember which bank. I have 2, 3 passwords. Like, okay, yeah, that's why like 6 is better. That's why, so they might be more concerned about security now, right? That's one good thing. So I'm not going to talk about which bank is what, but you all can compare as well. It's a good study to do. And one final thing, like this is just extra thing that I would like to discuss because of security. So now, yeah, just talk to you all like at least 12, try to make it because I just showed you why it has to be 12 and then have like full combination of them. Now, how many people here use the same password, for example, for your Gmail and then what else? Facebook, your Office, whatever system. Yes, no? Do we have any yes? That is also not a recommended thing, right? Okay, I will not, because some people don't want to say yes. But if you are yes, I think, yeah, today change that. You should never use the same password because if one is being compromised, your other services will be compromised as well. So that has been shown. I will show you later, right? Especially like what is LinkedIn, right? You might be having LinkedIn account, you might be having Facebook account, you might having Gmail account, your Office account. So there's so many accounts today you are having. But my recommendation here is have something like this password 8 and 4. This can be common because it's always difficult with all so many services. You have to remember your password because password should not be written anywhere. And then this has to be variable, at least, and your banks and different banks. So try to have a password like this. So one common thing, at least 8 characters, but just try to vary that at least 4 characters of the password beginning, end, wherever, right? Again, I'm also not saying the end all the time, but then you might be having better passwords. So that's my small recommendation, but maybe. If you have any questions, you can ask on that as well. Okay, so just we had a quick chat on this method, right? One single key, right? And then how we can proceed. And now, okay, now don't get excited here, right? By seeing this slide. This is not technical. What I'm saying is now we discussed about the length, right? Now, this is, yeah, don't compare now your password with the keys that I'm talking here, because this is inside a computer we are talking about, right? This is all computer security, right? Remember, computer can understand these as well, right? So don't worry about that password that you have, right? So it's like, so there is a relationship, but not exactly one-to-one matching, right? So because some of the things will not applicable straight away here. So that is what. So now here we are talking about computer systems to make it secure, right? So then, yes, key length is still there, right? Key length will be the number of bits is what, like, so this is your key and this is another key. Let's say K1, this is K2. I would say K2 is better than K1 because easy to brute force attack. The K1 than K2, right? So that is what in with the 2 bits, like when you have 2 bits, this is how we can write 0, 0, 0, 1, 1, 0, 1, 1. I think this is grade 8 maths for you all, I guess, combinations. And this is what sense we say this is like binary 2 to the power 2 bits, because 2 is the base and there are 2 numbers. This is 4, right? Similarly, if you have n number of bits, right, the number of combinations this can create is 2 to the power n, right? So if you have 128 bits, it's not here all, I have not written, right? These are all 128 bits. 2 to the power 128 is this number of combination, right? I don't know how to read this number. There's so many. Now you can see brute force attack of 128 bits. Like a computer has to try this number of tries to check my password. It will be one of them, right? So this is where, like, now when you are doing your internet banking from today onwards, right? So now you can look your banks. So if you have 2 banks, you can compare this as well. The banks, the key size, right? So today you can say like HTTPS, when you have this, there's a padlock coming up on your browser, just click on that. So there will be some data that you can see, right? So don't worry, you can just information, right? Just on the padlock, just click on that. I think then a pop-up window comes, and then there it shows like sometimes 2 tabs will be coming, right? So there you can see key length was there, right? That is the bank that uses to communicate with you securely, right? What is the length? So if it says 128 bits, and then the other bank says 256 bits, this is actually double that. So you can see this has so much like combinations than the previous one. There's another bank uses, let's say 10 bits, right? Should not be a bank will be using, I think central bank will not allow, but then this is a very unsecure bank. I will say better off not to do e-banking with this bank, because that is not a good key, right? So today I think standard is 128, and some banks are using even more than that, right? So this is what it comes to us. That's why I said don't compare straight away with your password. Then people ask, so how to put hash, like is this a good password, like then is it a good key that I can put, right? That is not like, because all inside the computer all will be something like binary, okay? So use secret key messages to secret key to encrypt a message. Here you can write it down, a plain text message to a ciphertext, right? That is what we call here, right? I have wrote it here, but in this message also, it is a plain text message, right? That is what we encrypt using a key, right? So the same key, right, as exchange some other way, has to be used to decrypt. So this is what we call symmetric key cryptography, because same key, as it was symmetric, right? We put asymmetric key when you have 2 different keys. So this is what the network part, this is a communication. So communication, right? This is a network or internet, whatever you can say, right? Because this can be long, like maybe 1,000 kilometers, right? Because that is where I sends the message to the US, right? Whatever. Now this method is good. Now all keys to be replaced if one key. Now I will show a scenario here. Now you here, you are a big merchant, right? You have several suppliers. Supplier 1, supplier 2, supplier 3, and then supply 100 as well, right? Now what, you can't keep the same key for them, but then you don't know, like they will pretending like supplier 2 will be sending something secure to, but looks like S1. So because that you have to have separate keys, right? So K1, K2, K3, and K100. So then when a message comes, you have to use one of these keys, right? And then see whether who has sent that, and then you have to do it, right? It's not like manageable, like in a business environment. Like in the, can you remember your school? Like there was a guy who's look after all the classrooms, like with a big key ring, right? And then he just comes with that everything, and then he has to just try several keys sometimes to open if it's not been properly labeled, right? So all these things are there. So the same scenario comes in the internet as well when we are doing like transactions. So it's not very practical. Now, if I somehow like the supplier 1, and supplier 1, 2, like they were like same supplier, like the two products they are doing, I will be using same key for some reason, right? Because they are, that's all right, same supplies to whatever sub things, right? But like, let's say if something has happened to this key, like I have accidentally given that key to supplier 3, now it's been exposed, right? I have to change all these keys as well, like other key as well, because I am using same key. So if I reusing that key, right? So I have those issues. So this is not really practical in the internet environment. So for you all, that will be okay. For personal things that you can use it for yourself. Like I think some of you all might be doing that. So do you all have some here file? You have so many other services, right? The names and their passwords are here. And then this will be probably an Excel or Word file. And then you have just password protected this. If you have done that, so this is what you all are doing. Same, like we have used one key to protect all these things. But always remember, these are very big keys. But if your password here is ABC 1, 2, 3, right? That is like you are compromising all these keys as well. Like it's not a very good thing, right? So we're trying to remember passwords, but sometimes, you know, like some system default passwords are coming so big. It's not your password they have generated. You can't remember. So this is the only option. I would say, like, don't put a very simple password for this file because it's easy to break that and get your password. So put a very strong password for that. And then, so that is what you all are doing. That is, you are using same key. Like, so encrypting then whenever you want, what you do is you just open that file and it will ask, put the password, that strong password, you put that, your decryption. So encryption is, once you put all the details to that document, you say protect with password, that is encryption, you encrypted. Now, anyone tries to open that, it will be just, they can't open that because it will not allow, right? Let's say if someone try to open that using some other tool also, like it is coming as crumbled data, right? That's we call encrypted, right? But when you give the right password, right key, and then it will be decrypting the right information. Okay. So that's how we do use, like, but however, internet environment handling with so many merchants, like, and suppliers, or like you having more clients, you can't do this, right? Because it's just not very practical. So there has to be some other method. So that is what this method has been proposed, right? So 2-key algorithm, right? So that I will start next week discussion with the 2 keys, right? How to use. So I will just give a quick summary and finish it off so that you all can think of that as well. So in this case, the sender and the receiver has 2 different keys, right? K1 and K2, right? So you have your data, right? That is the plain text. So that you need to encrypt. You put K1 key and you get the ciphertext. So when the ciphertext comes to the receiver put decryption and put the K2, and you are about to get this data, right? But if you put any other key here, it will not work. Okay, so that is what. So to get this one done, right, maths is going to help. So I'm not going to teach you maths, right? So these are, we call big prime numbers, if you can remember prime numbers, right? So just next week I will tell that, so that assuming you know maths, like, okay, don't worry, like that's you don't need to know maths, right? We believe on certain things, like this will happen like this, and then because that's basically that backend part is handled by maths, right? So actually maths is coming here to help with the key generation, this kind of keys, because now someone can ask, there are 2 keys, is there a relationship here? Yes, without that, how can you do this, right? So that's what, but that relationship is such a way that to explain that we need mathematics or prime numbers, and then how these numbers were generated. So that's what we're not going to discuss that. But for you all, sender and receiver will be using two different keys. They are somehow, I double quotes here, somehow related and some relationship is there. That is why when I encrypt with one key, the other key will be used to decrypt, but not any other key, only K2, because K1 and K2 is a pair. Now, we have to create pairs. K1 and K2 is a pair, right? But this will be generated. So these two numbers, very specific numbers. That's why like now this is where like maths is coming, right? So that we don't need these two. So then if you put any, right, other K3, K10, K15, whatever, it doesn't work because K1 and K2 are only the pair. Okay. That's the only maths you have to remember, right? So that's why it's really not maths, right? So don't worry. So like the next method we have to use this is the only thing which is not common. Like the things that I have discussed so far, I think it's just you all can understand because you all are using that with passwords, right? That is same exact thing implemented inside the computer. But this method, the public key algorithms, right, which is a newer method, which is not usually used by you all, but this is what you all are using even today. So don't think that we are not using this. This is what how you now after my let's say I will say like, okay, can you all please transfer 1,000 rupees to my bank account, right? So then you will be using, you don't need to do that. So you have to go to internet banking and do, because now all have to be at home. So then if you are doing that, if you know how to send me 1,000 rupees to my account, right? Or do a transaction in eBay using a credit card, basically you are using this method, right? That's what like you're already using it, right? The thing is we are trying to learn about how it is working, and then on top of that, then how we can talk about digital signatures, digital certificates, and those things we are going to look into. So next week we'll meet, and I have done 4 lectures to you all now. The 5th lecture will be my last lecture. So then after that, the MIS part will be starting, right? But next week we will complete this. Okay, then I will not continue from here onwards, but if you all have any questions, I can take. There are some on this. Yeah, until you ask some questions, I have some. We are calling. Okay, drop a Skype message. Yeah, very good. Yeah, that's right. Some people said there's a Skype message you can send. Yes, or like now Zoom also you can use, right? But all these things are, because Zoom you can connect only intended recipients, right? So then you can do that, right? But however, how secure we might not know, right? And also like, okay, I will tell the Skype answer, like that Ayesha, because now your password, now, okay, that's a good question you asked. So why not we discuss that a little bit? Open. Write it on there. I'm going to start the lecture, but okay. Just take empty screen. Yeah, now, yeah, you have, this is you, right? This is the recipient. I put sender and the recipient are. This is Skype server now. I take Skype or whatever it can be, right? But only thing is, remember you are sending this through Skype, right? Remember whatever we send, right? I will talk about next week that also, right? The Skype can see your, this is the K1 you are sending, because Skype, let's say Skype sysadmin here, right? Can read K1. So then K1 somehow you are exposed to someone else, right? So then someone can now argue, this is where like having physical and online. So when you are sending SMS also, like can the telecom guys like who are operating SMS can see that, yeah, there is a possibility, right? There is a possibility, right? But that's where like, so then the second one, like who said, I can't remember his name. He said like you have to physically meet them and exchange. That is, yes, that is the only secure method, right? But that's where like, I just want to get other answers. That's where like I said, I just put a lock into that and say, you can't now physically move. But that when you can physically move these two guys, like let's say 1st of January, okay, this is need not to be 1st of January each year, you all meet, right? There's a get together, and then on that day you exchange keys, right? So that for 1 year you will be using, next year you will be exchanging, or like whenever you meet each other, you said, okay, now from today onwards, like we will use this key. So that sort of scenario you can have, but these options, but SMA is not completely internet related. That's why like sometimes we accept it as a good answer, right? Because these internet related solutions can be, that's why like some people say WhatsApp, right? We'll talk about this end-to-end connectivity as well. So those things you can discuss next week with me, right? So how about WhatsApp then? Is it WhatsApp better than something else, right? So this is where like we can say end-to-end secure, right? However, that we will discuss after talking about this theory as well, so that we will understand. But since I just saw a chat, so yeah, that is all right, right? But however, there can be some small issues there as well. Okay, any other questions? Okay, then, so we will stop for today. So I'll meet you all next week to complete this. Okay, then.